Hello everyone, welcome to ZaranTech's cutting-edge SAP S/4HANA sourcing and procurement training. Your gateway to revolutionizing your procurement processes is today digital's business landscape. In the fast-paced world of procurement, SAP S/4HANA sourcing and procurement is the game changer and providing advanced capabilities for sourcing, contract management, and procurement operations. ZaranTech specialized training takes you to a deep dive into the latest features and innovations of SAP S/4HANA sourcing and procurement, arming you with this expertise to optimize procurement, enhance supply collaboration, and ensure compliance with industry standards. Before we begin, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon to receive regular updates from us. Now let us take a look at the agenda. Number 1. Introduction to ERPs. Number 2. Advantages of SAP over other ERP packages. Number 3. What is SAP R3 FICO? Number 4. SAP R3 architecture. Number 5. Material master. Number 6. Vendor master. Number 7. CVI setup in S4HANA. Let's dive into the video now.
Hello team. Today onwards we are going to cover the SAP MM as a process on all the topics we have in SAP MM on S4HANA system. So I'll be conducting the sessions in theory plus practical together in a row. So we'll start with the basics, introduction, then how to do the cycles, and then how to configure the system, and all these things will go in a row. You have a question, please feel free to ask me. And also I'll give enough gaps to just get the questions cleared on all the concepts. So intermittent breaks between every 2 minutes or 1 minute to just check how are you all following or not. If anybody is not able to follow, or if anybody has a question, please don't hesitate, feel free to ask the questions. So starting with now, we will be talking about the basic introductions to SAP and all. So before that, the basic introduction. So here we are today starting with about SAP Materials Management. Okay. And this is the disclaimers where what to do, what not to do, and all about the training. So we have this documentation done, and this will be shared to you as well, to all the participants. So no need to worry about it. Okay, for the notes. And today's agenda would be to cover the following aspects, like introduction to ERP, and then what is ERP, and what are all the other packages we have in ERP and SAP, and a bit about FICO, though we are not doing FICO, but a bit about FICO, then the architecture, then we go on. If we start with what is ERP, ERP is abbreviated as Enterprise Resource Planning. I repeat, ERP is abbreviated as Enterprise Resource Planning. So the enterprise resource planning is basically in specialized IT tools which are there in the market to run the business cycles. Okay. So what happens with them is, let's take a small different examples of different industries and see why this ERP is required. So for this, I'll take an example of a notepad where if you talk about a small business like your grocery store, right? A small grocery store down the lane in your street, you see, what do they do for their business transactions? They do it all manually, like how much is brought, how much stock is brought, sold, kept in stock, and spoiled, and how much is the sales, how much is the purchases, how much is the inventory, right? And how much is the salary for the employee? Usually maybe one worker will be there, right? So these all transactions would not be stored on anywhere. They would be written maybe on a piece of paper, and profit or loss accounting, right, is done in general ledger books, or ledger books they call, right, at the year end. Whereas if you talk about in much improvised business, just the next level, a supermarket. Okay. So at a supermarket level, if you talk about what happens, so you will have a mechanized billing machines, right? So like the machinized billing machines which will do the billing for us, and then any from which what will happen is how much we have and how much is there, what is there, and all can be done. And also you see this, what we say is The profit or loss accounting will be done in systems, not in manually in the books. So when the business scale is increasing, you need some help of tools which eases your business process. So day-to-day operations of your business will get easier with the tools. So I'm talking about a very low level businesses like a grocery store, a supermarket, which have the turnover of some thousands or lakhs. But let's talk about come to a scenario like Tata Motors. So you see Tata Motors is the biggest automobile manufacturer. So if Tata Motors has to have their operations run, so if you talk about Tata Motors, it's relevant in some more 6 continents, different countries of operations. They do their businesses, their sales, and they have the manufacturing sites in different countries, right? So in those cases, they have different departments working, like purchasing, sales, warehouse, finance, HR, right? So production, etc. So these all departments will have thousands of transactions per year, where because the scale of business is huge. And let's suppose you take any companies of like Tata Group, let's suppose TCS, where Tata Technologies, Tata Advanced Systems, Chroma. So these are like Tata is a conglomerate of hundreds of companies. So with these all businesses running in the large scale, they cannot do this maybe simpler tools. They cannot do their business with simpler tools or simpler manual paper based entries in their process in their industries. So for these big companies which have different departments working on different activities all throughout the year, and the transactions are in huge number, they need a specialized IT tools which are called the ERP tools, enterprise resource planning. So these tools, what will they do is they help to have the transactions run in a streamlined manner for these companies. For big companies, ERP tools help to run the business transactions in a streamlined manner. So there are a lot of ERP tools available in the market. So remember, because you see ERP is required for mid to small scale to large scale industries. So because the amount of transactions, the amount of processes they run in different departments over a year is huge. They cannot keep writing on a piece of paper. So this IT-based entry technologies, ERP tools for all the processes of their industry, like all the departments of their company can run, they can go into, right, different ERP tools which are available in the market. So there are a lot of ERP tools available in the market. So for example, if I give Infor, Oracle, then Microsoft Dynamics, then you have SAP, then very other smaller tools like such as Odoo and some QuickBooks, right? So lot of smaller tools are also available. So there are a lot of ERP tools available in the market, but out of all those available ERP tools, SAP is the market leader. SAP is the market leader. Why? Because of the integration SAP offers, which is unique with which is unique, which stands SAP out of the league, is the integration. That is, SAP can integrate all the business processes, such as your warehouse to purchase to sales, or your purchase to finance, sales to finance, production to warehouse to purchase, right? So with different departments, whatever the requirements you have, those can be integrated together easily in SAP with the documents. And the other advantage of SAP is it can also integrate with any other third-party tool available in the market. So the finance integration in SAP is very strong than other tools. So which as a one in one single box we will have in SAP, which you will get to learn over the period of time. So this is the basic introduction for ERP and SAP. So now comes to the question is, when SAP is being the market leader, we said it offers a lot of integrations. Yes, SAP is abbreviated. How is it SAP abbreviated? SAP is abbreviated as Systems, Applications, and Products in data processing. SAP is abbreviated as Systems, Applications and Products in Data Processing. So SAP is basically the German software which is developed in 1972 by 5 ex-IBM employees. Okay, so where it has been evaluating and evaluating itself to the market needs today. So SAP is abbreviated as Systems, Applications and Products in Data Processing. And remember, we never call it as SAP. SAP in German means some animal pig or something. So it's always called as SAP only. So please have this habit of using the word as SAP instead of SAP. So Systems, Applications and Products is the introduction for it. So remember, ERP is required. ERP tools is required for big businesses where there would be a lot of transactions in a streamlined, smooth way we need to run. So there are a lot of ERP tools available in the market, out of which SAP is the market leader because of the integration it offers. And SAP is abbreviated as Systems, Applications and Products in Data Processing. This is the basic introduction for ERP and SAP. So now we move on to what is SAP consisting of. What is SAP consisting of? SAP has always been a module centric software. I repeat, SAP has always been a module centric software where the broad classification of modules would be functional and technical. So the functional modules are the ones where there would be no coding at all. So without coding, what can you or do you do, or what will you do as a functional consultant in SAP in the industry? That is, you will be either having an development, that is an implementation project, or a support project. After you learn SAP, you will be either in a development or a support project. So development or implementation are the same, where you will configure the SAP system for the client, whereas in a support project, you will solve the issues what the end users will get. You will solve the issues what the end users will get as a functional consultant. So technical we'll talk about in a bit. So functional, what happens is each business process of a each business process of a company, SAP has categorized as a module. Each business process of a company, SAP has categorized is that as a module. That is, let's suppose if you talk about, let's start with SAP MM. MM stands for materials management. SAP MM stands for materials management, which talks about sourcing, procurement, and inventory part of a company. I repeat, SAP MM talks about sourcing, procurement, and inventory part of a company. Basically, the supply chain or the logistics part. Basically, the supply chain or the logistics part. So now comes the question is, after SAP MM, you see different other modules such as your PP for production planning, SD for sales and distribution, FICO finance and controlling, PS project systems, QM quality management, PM plant maintenance, HR human resource management, right? Like this, you have WM warehouse management and PP production planning, different modules you will have. So each individual module consultants will work with their client counterparts. Okay, will work with their client counterparts to get the requirements or to help with the solutions. This is the overall introduction of how the modules will be categorized. So now the question is, after these modules, right, each module consultant will work with their counterparts to either configure or solve the issues. So you need, of course, you learn multiple modules is good, but you have to be expert in a module. It takes time to you go through implementations or support cycles where you learn a lot of knowledge. So we'll be focusing on SAP MM as a module from now on in the introductions. And now comes the question is, what are technical modules? There are technical modules also in SAP such as ABAP, Advanced Business Application Programming, Basis, Security, Fiori, etc. So these technical guys, what will they do is, basically if you see basis team, they will set up the system, they will do the patch upgrades and any basic setup activities of SAP will be done by the basis consultants. And then any during the course of work, like when we functional consultants will work with our client counterparts, any requirements of custom coding comes, that custom coding requirement will be done by the ABAP consultants. So you as a functional consultant need not to code anything, but you will have to give the requirement if at all a custom code requirement comes. So security team will be providing the access or removing the access for the way we need, and Fiori team will be working on the Fiori developments for the users, which I'll be talking in lately of this training also. So this is the architecture of SAP, where the functional and technical modules together will be working in order to keep the client's business process run up and running for their day-to-day activities. These you see what here are the basic modules in SAP you have. Okay. So there will be advanced modules in SAP which SAP is bringing up. Like for suppose if I give an example, SAP MM is sourcing and procurement, all about your procurement and inventory. So there would be the advanced module for it from SAP, like SAP Ariba, which is a standalone procurement software, both for a direct and indirect you can use, which is itself a standalone product from SAP. Same SAP SD talks about sourcing and sales and distribution. There is SAP Hybris, which is the next advanced version you have. So, and then the same for WM, warehouse management, there is something called EWM, extended warehouse management. And then you have something called security. They have something called GRC. I say security is how the role should be maintained. GRC is whom should be the role given to, is very much relevant, but the advanced versions of SAP software you have. And ABAP, yes, you see Fiori with OData is the Fiori, and OData is the something latest to what you have in ABAP. So this is how the like different advanced modules SAP is bringing in each space, where the standalone, these would be a standalone systems which can act and integrate with the backbone system. So we call all these modules together will be there in one system. We call it as a backbone system on which these independent modules can also act. So there would be differences, which from module to module, the process is same, but how do you do in each system is different. That's how. So this is the basic introduction, which we'll be going forward with. Okay, some very basic introduction is given about FICO, just to make sure that, because every module we'll talk about, but FICO is something common for everyone. So which where every company's balance sheets, profit or loss accounting, all these processes, any accounts receivable, accounts payable, accounts payable, right? How the assets will be there, how whenever you sell anything, it's accounts receivable, right? You'll get the money from the customer. If you buy anything, accounts payable, you have to pay to your vendor, right? And how your basically your company codes are set up, and how your postings should happen, like which inventory accounts should hit. All these basic things will be done by the this SAP FI consultants. So the FICO consultants will be doing this activities, where they'll be having a different accounts like bank accounting, asset accounting, travel management, you see, accounts receivable, payable, general ledger accounting. So there would be different activities the FI and CO guys will do. Okay. So this is about the very basic introduction about FICO, which we don't need in depth. Okay. But this is the basic. But because we are going to talk about more about SAP MM. So after this, we are going to talk about something called R3 and ECC. So SAP is having a three-tier architecture. R3 means three-tier architecture we have. So three-tier architecture is basically a database layer, application layer, and presentation layer we call. Database layer, application layer, and presentation layer. Three-layer architecture we have in SAP. So before that, there used to be R2 two-layer architecture, which is very way before 1990, which even before I was born. So right, okay, so that was very long ago. Now R3 is there in the market from 1990s itself, so you can consider this. You need not to learn R2 also, which is like basically very old versions, which is not existent from the last 20 years. So R3 came in from 1990s, and where you see this three-layer architecture is there in SAP. So before I talk about it, maybe I have a couple of questions. I have a couple of questions if anybody can answer. On what OS your mobile runs? I think Android and iOS is the most common we see, right? So it runs on the OS, Android or iOS. And can someone name any applications you know in your mobile? So these are all the applications that are running on your mobile. Where is that data stored in your mobile? Where is the data stored? Whatever you have on your mobile. So when you're talking about it, two things. One is mobile storage. In your mobile it will be, right? Or let's suppose G drive storage, Google Drive storage, which is in cloud, right? So if you see this where it runs on OS where it has the applications which you will be using. So whatever the data you have, let's suppose you have a picture that will be stored in your mobile, right? And also it can be stored in G drive or the Google email, right? So cloud or on-premise, where do you store? How do you store? It's up to you. So this is how an application runs. And you see the same way. If I ask you, how is your laptop runs? On what OS? Any idea? Windows and Mac, whatever the OS they have. Okay. And then the same applications will run. And then you'll have a local storage or you can have a OneDrive storage, right? Which the Microsoft gives. So this is how the same SAP also runs team. SAP runs on Linux US OS, okay, where the application itself is the SAP as an application you will have, and the data is stored in the database layer. So whatever the screen you see on SAP screen is the presentation layer. SAP screen, what you see for doing the transactions, like you do a WhatsApp message or you WhatsApp call or mobile call is a application you use for any transaction. So the same way we have only one application called SAP we are using, which have different transactions you can use, right? Those will be on a presentation layer. And beside to it, you have an application layer where the application layer, you can consider it as a coding layer also. So any sort of coding and programming can be done in the application layer. And below to it, the bottommost layer is called the database layer, where the data is stored, where the data is stored. So now you see, basically what happens is the data that is stored in SAP will always be in a table format, because structured databases in the world, data will stored in the I'll tell you that there would be tables where the data is stored and structured. So there would be something called RDBMS concept. Any software engineers or CSE engineers will, or IT engineers will know. So which is not relevant for us. I'll just give an introduction. That is called relational database management structure. Okay. So where the data is stored in a structural relative format. So which I will talk about in detail in the subsequent classes. So the date, so whatever you do is in the presentation layer, you do the transactions that get stored in the database layer, and any programming for it to bring the data or store the data, that will be done through application layer. This is the three-layer architecture SAP is having, which we call the R3 architecture or R3 structure. Then we move on to something called ECC. What is the difference between R3 and ECC? ECC is basically abbreviated as Enterprise Core Component. Okay. Enterprise Core Component is nothing but same as R3. So ECC is the word we have in the later stage of 90s from SAP, where all the modules together, you will have all the modules will work in a single SAP system. So you'll have a single SAP system login where all the module consultants can work together. So the guy will go do for a procurement inventory invoicing. The sales guy will do a sales billing and delivery and billing. The finance guys go for a accounts receivable or payable. The HR guy for their activities, right? All of them can be done in one system, which is called the ECC system, which SAP has caught with. SAP has come up with the concept called ECC, which is the same R3 structure, right? Which is similar that all the activities can be worked on the same. Then later on, SAP came up with in S4, maybe in 2015. Okay, so before the SAP came up with a concept called HANA as a database they have in 2013 or something. So HANA is an in-house database from SAP. Before that, if HANA is an in-house database from SAP, before that in ECC, what database SAP used to have? SAP ECC runs on Oracle DB. Oracle database SAP used to run. Okay. So then in 2013-12, they started HANA as a database, and 2015 onwards, they have started with a term called S4 HANA. What is S4 HANA? S4 HANA is basically SAP suite for HANA, where this the latest version of SAP which runs on HANA as a database. So SAP ECC used to run an Oracle database. With HANA as a new database, SAP got the new functionalities also developed, which is, now it's calling as S4 HANA. Okay. So what is the difference between ECC and HANA? There is like good kind of upgrades and process optimizations and user interface features which SAP gave, which we will be talking about them in later. But there are different versions of ECC and S4 HANA, which we need to talk. So ECC used to have a version like version 4, 4.1, 4.2, like any upgrades used to have, right? 4.2, then 4.6, then something like version 6 with EHP 7 is the latest version we have in SAP ECC. What is EHP? Enhancement package. Enhancement package. So what is this EHP 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? For each version, you can have 7 enhancement packages in SAP. You will have usually 4.1, any updates you get, not only in one module, guys, MMSD, FICO, throughout all the SAP system, any issues, bug fixes, or enhancements to be done, SAP will release as an enhancement package. And if the next version comes, SAP will release as the next version. So you can relate this something to very similar to what you have in an Android, your mobile updates or iOS. So you have a version, any bug fixes or patches, upgrades will be done through will be done through updates to you. And if the new version has to come, the total new version comes and you can update it. The same way SAP will bring as well. So if for different modules, so wherever the latest version is available, that we will implement for the client. So ECC version 6 with EHP 7 is, I guess, 2006 or 7 was the last version we have in SAP. Version 6 with EHP 7. So after that, SAP used to run the same way. And later on in S4 HANA came up in 2015, where SAP started with S4 on-premise and on-cloud versions. SAP has came up with the concept of on-premise and on-cloud. So what is on-premise version? Where the database will exist with us and we will have the ownership and we will maintain its on-premise systems. On cloud is where the SaaS or PaaS products, where the SAP will maintain the cloud database for the client. So this S4 HANA is the latest versions we have. Both on-premise and on cloud you will have. Right? Yep. SAP Business Suite for HANA you can go. And then what we do is this S4 HANA, right? You have on-premise and on-cloud different versions team. The SAP S4 HANA system. So also remember, some people will write it like or some people will write S bar HANA, S4 HANA. So whatever is it, the same. There is no much difference. Okay. So in usual terms, we use S4 HANA rather than this. So if we write like this, the newcomers will write as oblique HANA, S bar HANA, something for HANA, they say, but you call it as S4 HANA. Okay. Both are same. When you come to on-premise and on-cloud versions, what is the versions we have in SAP? What SAP is providing? So on-premise, SAP is giving one version every year. I repeat, one new version every year SAP is giving, which is starting from 2015. I think, yeah, 1510 or 1511 they call. Huh. Then 1610, 1709, 1809, 1909, 2020, 2021, and 2022. So you see every year one version for on-premise SAP is giving, like it is evolving the features of SAP. Okay, in S4HANA in each version. So it's not like in 2015-11 you have something different and 2022 you do a different SAP. No, the same processes will run, but much optimized, better versioning, better analytics, better reporting capabilities in SAP is SAP offering in the each new version. So in 2015 November, 1511 means 2015 November, 1610 means 2016 October, 1709 means 2017 September, 2018 September, 2019 September. So in what month we are getting that version, SAP used to give like this: 1511, 1610, 1709, 1809, 1909. From 2020, SAP has started the numberings as year 2020, 2021, 2022, like that. So the latest version what we are having in the market which SAP released will be 2022, and before that 2021 and 2020 in the on-premise versions. If it's a cloud, 4 versions per year. 4 versions per year. That is, let's suppose you see 2022, right? 2208, 22, sorry, 2203, 2206, 9, 12, right? So like that, every 3 months you will have one version. So how will they release is up to them. So if it's 2019, they used to have like 190 3 5 8 12. Then this year same, maybe 2203, 2205, 8, 12. So like that, every 3 months, usually on a 3 month space, we will be getting a one new version in SAP, which is like the SAP will directly push to the client systems if it's on cloud. So these are the versions what you have in SAP. But remember, most implementations from the partner consultants like us will be doing on-premise. We'll be doing on-premise.
All right, let's test your knowledge. And here is a question for you. Which of the following is not a key capability of SAP S4HANA Sourcing and Procurement? Option A, guided buying. Option B, supply evaluation. Option C, travel and expense management. Option D, operational contracting. Take a moment to think, and when you're ready, choose the correct option. And remember, each choice holds to the key of unlocking the answer. Good luck, and type the correct answer in the comment section.
So on cloud is where SAP will have the ownership of the database, and they will preserve the data in the cloud systems, and they can the configuration also, it's dependent, either the client will be doing it or the partners like us will be doing, or the SAP will do for the client. So this is the difference between on-premise and on cloud. So this mostly would be on an architectural point of view question. Okay, so not as a functional consultant, we would say. The reason why I say that is, when we say cloud or on-premise, there are two sub-variants to them. Okay, so to your question, there are two sub-variants to each of them. On-premise, we will talk about called self-hosted, and the other is on cloud. So be it on-premise means either a self-hosted or on cloud, and also cloud, when we say pure cloud, it's private cloud or public cloud. So when we say self-hosted means, let's suppose Tata Motors. Okay, so Tata Motors is the company for which SAP implementation is required. So who is doing that? Let's assume that TCS is doing. Okay, so now Tata Motors should be deciding with the advice of TCS by the architects on the overall data structures and the infrastructure point of view. I repeat, infrastructure point of view. Self-hosted means Tata Technologies will have the Tata Motors. Tata Motors will have the ownership of the system and data. And if it's on cloud, right? On-premise, on cloud. Yes, in the same case also, the cloud-based databases can be used, or the infrastructure will be used. Google Cloud Platform, right? and you see IBM Cloud, so on. So either you want to run your database on your on-premise one or on cloud on-premise. It's totally the data you own it. I mean, Tata Motors will own it. The data safety, data maintenance, everything. Whereas if it's a cloud, be it a private cloud or public cloud, what happens is the data maintenance and safety will be responsible with the responsibility lies with SAP. So I'm talking about the database and the infrastructure perspective. Okay. Whereas the maintenance of the data and the configurations perspective, how do you maintain the system in private cloud or public cloud would be with SAP only. They'll not be giving it to the to TCS or Wipro or Deloitte, any of these companies usually. And whereas on-premise, complete system hold will be with us. Like configuration will have it, data maintenance, customization, everything will be with us. CC, you will have on-premise means also will have the full ownership. We can do what we want. So you can do the upgrades, you can do the configuration, server setup, backups, everything we do. But with on cloud, okay, coming to on cloud, SAP will have the be it a private cloud or public cloud, right? You'll have the problem is where private cloud, right? Then it means you will have the ownership for the configuration. That means TCS can do the configuration for Tata Motors with if it's a private cloud. But public cloud, SAP can only do. And the licenses, upgrades, server setup, server backup, everything would be handled by SAP in case of cloud. So now comes, so when in cloud, right? In some parts of private cloud, I repeat, very small portion of private cloud only, the config access will be there with the consultants from any other IT companies or the client. But mostly it would be governed by SAP only. So now the question is, what will the company want? So now the Tata Motors IT head or the infrastructure team who handles the IT has to decide they want a self-hosted on-premise, on-cloud hosted on-premise, or private cloud or public cloud, because what is beneficial for their business process. If you see, on cloud means everything is handled by SAP as a company. So you have to spend only, maybe you have to spend more money, but still everything would be with SAP. SAP takes responsibility of your end-to-end management of SAP as a software. Whereas if it's on premise, you have to decide on, you will own your own infrastructure, and you will maybe, or you give infrastructure to one company and SAP config and setups from the client's company perspective. And also, of course, the engagement company like TCS or whoever the partner is can suggest based on their business model, but it's purely a technical uh, decision how they want the process to be maintained in the company. So we functional consultants, in any kind, we don't have any difference if it's this or that, because I have worked on self-hosted and on cloud hosted on premise. It doesn't make any difference. Like you do an SAP on premise on any normal software, or you do an SAP on sorry, with normal infrastructure, or you do it with Azure or AWS. Both I worked on GCP also, I work, but no difference, at least from the functional perspective we have. So if a new plant comes up, like I said, remember, private cloud is where any config access we will have with. We can do. With public cloud, we cannot do. It would be done by, should be done by SAP. That's my understanding, because on cloud goes very rare implementations, because it would be mostly with SAP. We will not have them. Okay. And about when we say cloud, what will be lying on the cloud? So usually the application and presentation layer, we see presentation layer will be the same, what we want to use. Application layer and database would be on cloud, where the data is stored in cloud. When I say cloud, again, the concepts of IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, and all will come. So the concepts, and I'll not go deep into it, just you for the information I'm saying, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, which you can refer it through. So where the SaaS is the form of cloud, where software as a service SAP is offering. Software as a service SAP is offering, where any customizations, any data maintenance, everything will be happening in cloud. That means the data is stored in multiple regions of the world. I repeat, Cloud maintenance means something in air will not be there. The data is stored in multiple regions and parts of the world. So the data in North America and the same data will be stored in somewhere in South India, so that if something happens to one part of the world, the data center will not get affected, and you can have an uptime of data with the server using this cloud infrastructures. That's where the cloud, where the data stored in cloud means you'll have multiple regions. The world is divided, and multiple regions without any relevance the data is stored, because if some part of the world is affected, the other part can be up with the data so that you can use it without any effect, because the physical data centers you have in, right, will can be easily damaged. That's why. So now you see the versions of SAP you'll have been like this. So we'll be going on with the 2021, I guess, the version we have for practice now. So the IDES versions will not be available very immediately when it gets released, so it will not be good for setup. So we'll be using the 2020 or 2021, mostly 2021, I believe, which we got. So we'll be learning. So whatever the changes and all, everything also I'll be covering you guys. No worries at that point. So this is the basic introduction. So now comes the types of partners. I think maybe before that, let me talk about three-tier architecture. We have the presentation application database, which says the same, and presentation just resides in application. Yeah, just some more theoretical information rather than I would prefer to explain practical with SAP. Okay, so now before we go this, I'll cover a couple of things called what are the types of projects you will have. What are the types of projects you have in SAP is three types of projects you will have, team. That is implementation, support, and rollout. So there are two types of implementations, greenfield and brownfield. So this is an official SAP terminology where greenfield implementation means implementing SAP for the first time to a client is called greenfield implementation. Implementing SAP for the first time to a client is called greenfield implementation. Whereas brownfield is basically upgrading the existing SAP system for the client. Okay. So upgrading the existing SAP system, like from ECC version 6 to S4 2020 or S4 HANA 1610 to 2022, whatever the version upgrade from SAP ECC to S4 HANA happens, that's called the brownfield implementation. So whereas whenever we do an implementation, right, we do it, let's assume Tata Motors, we are doing an implementation from TCS perspective. So we develop the processors in a configure the SAP system, but we don't go live. That means we will not ask Tata Motors to use for every plant, every business in at once. Okay. So what happens is once we will do an implementation, we will do an pilot implementation. So what is a pilot implementation for one plant? Usually we say, okay, we'll ask them to start using SAP, and whatever the processes they do, any issues they come up with, we will settle them down. So once the pilot implementation is done for one plant of business, we will roll out that features to multiple other countries of operations or plants, businesses. That's called a rollout. Okay. Rollout is basically extending the pilot implementation to multiple other org units or businesses or countries of operations. That's the difference between implementation and rollout. So now, after an implementation or a rollout, whatever, SAP is designed in such a way that SAP, the clients cannot be self-sufficient. We need the projects to be on a support also. Support means in IT terminology, we call it as AMS, application maintenance and support. Application maintenance and support. So where what happens is the support consultants will help with the end users for the configuration, like any issues they get, right, they will solve in the support consultants will solve for the client. So in an implementation project, we will configure the SAP system for the client, whereas in a support project, we will solve the end users, will solve the issues for the end users. Okay, so let's assume that we are implementing for Tata Motors, and in India they have 3 plants. In Africa they have 2 plants. Like that, they have multiple plants in multiple business countries. So we don't ask Tata. So what usually we do is we will have then pilot implementation. That means the Tata Motors we will select a plant in one space that they'll be start using that for SAP for all the transactions. And once the system settle downs, everything good, we will do this is called a pilot implementation only for one part of business. Assume that one plant they have, then we will roll out this feature to the other plants or other businesses, other countries also. So you hear this pilot implementation of any feature in software world usually. Like you see WhatsApp has rolled out a new feature in US first, and slowly in a phased manner they will roll out to the rest parts of the world. That means the feature would be rolled out for one part of business usually. Like we'll ask them to work on. If any issues we identify, we settle them, we clear them, and everything good, then we'll understand how the company is performing. On that basis, any new features to be added on any issues to be identified will be solved and will be rolled out to the other units of the business also, like other plants, other companies, other businesses in other countries of operations for Tata Motors, like that. So implementation, it's not like for all the businesses we will make them use for from the first day. So later on, in a slow and steady manner, it will be done. Whereas be it an implementation or a rollout or a support rollout, the support project will have to become AMS. The support project will be there, where in the support project, right, the support consultants will solve the issues for the end users. So now what are we going to talk about is the types of projects are done, right? So who will be doing these projects and all usually is the partner structure we call partner structure. So what is a partner structure is basically two types of partner structures we can predominantly talk about is the um, let's talk about like the implementation partner or consulting partner we call, okay, and education partner. So implementation or consulting partners are the companies who has the capability to run SAP projects, right, for the clients. I repeat, companies who have the capabilities and competency to run the projects for the clients. That is, you talk about TCS, Wipro, Deloitte, IBM, right? Then any big companies. I'm not saying only these. Any company who has the capability to run SAP projects, right, for the clients, they'll make an alliance with a part as a partner with SAP. So the what happens is SAP cannot implement or support so many clients, so they take the royalty and we authorized partners. Let's assume TCS has been an authorized partner for SAP, a gold partner or a bronze partner sorry, gold partner only. So what happens is TCS has the competency. TCS has the team of consultants, functional, technical, architects, project managers who knows how to implement SAP or who knows how to support SAP projects. So TCS can implement or can do support on SAP product to the client on behalf of SAP company. I repeat, TCS can either develop or support the SAP product on behalf of SAP company to the customer, that is Tata Motors, let's assume. This is what the implementation or a consulting partner means. They have the competence, they have the capacity, and they have the team who can work, which SAP has authorized. They can do and do the implementations or supports. Whereas education part is Atos, Siemens, and Delphi Tech, JK Group. So these are all the authorized partners. Um, Atos, Siemens, now it has become, right, and you have JK Tech, JK Tech, and Delphi, and all lot of companies who are authorized partners who can teach SAP on behalf SAP product on behalf of SAP company. So this is the licensing and the partner structure that you have. So there are different in implementation or consulting partner. There are something like bronze, silver, and gold, where based on the amount of work you can do in terms of money, I guess, and capacity, the partnership will be given like bronze or silver and gold. All these big companies, will be a gold partners, and based on the company's range and the kind of projects they operate, the partnership will be with the SAP. So this is the partner structure we have in SAP. So this is basic, like the very basic introduction to SAP and to the world of SAP we have talked about till now. Now comes to something called inside SAP. We are going to talk about what are the different things and all we have. So basically what happens is SAP as a product or an tool you see, right? What happens is it also follows the SDLC cycle, software development life cycle we call. Software development life cycle is the approach we use for to develop high-end softwares and deliver them to the customers. So where what happens is the product format we use is usually development, quality, production. Development, quality, production, and we have something called sandbox in SAP. What happens here is the development, quality, production sandbox you see is the development project is the development system is the system where you will configure or code new requirements in development system. So where unit testing and functional unit testing is done, and you move the changes to quality for ITC or SIT and UAT. Production is live data, no testing, no development. Sandbox is just a test system for practice or POC, proof of concept. So this is where everywhere you use. Basically in IT, be it a Java-based project, .NET based project, or SAP project, anything you do, this dev quality production way of cycle of movement of changes should be done. Why? As per the SDLC cycle, this is the best approach mentioned in the guide. So if you see what happens is, let's take an example. I believe most of you have seen this new feature from Zomato called 10 minutes delivery, right? I hope most of you might have heard it. So Zomato says in 10 minutes they want to give a delivery, which is not existing in the market today. In the Zomato app, if you go, it's not existing, right? So what it's a new feature as the Zomato is rolling out. So what happens is they have to develop that feature. The coding config requirements, what has to be done in the backend Zomato app, they have to do. And that should be tested properly by the developers in the development system. And then it would be moved to quality. So the quality app, what the testings will be done and rigorously will be seen for different scenarios. And the end users kind of us will be also testing that. And when they move the changes to production, that means the setup is in production. Whatever the Zomato app you use is the production Zomato app. So because you create a order, that order goes to the restaurant and they have to deliver it. It's not a dummy one, right? So like that, if you talk about SAP, there would be no external users, only our company users would be using it usually, right? But we have to develop the new any requirement that comes. If it's a configuration, we do. If it's a coding, the ABAP consultants will do. We have to do that new development or configuration or coding in development system. So in the development SAP system, you will do that. And whatever, once the coding or configuration is done, unit testing and functional consultants will do. So once we do the functional unit testing and we see, okay, this process is running good, the configuration or the coding or the setup we did is running good. Then we move the changes from development to quality. Then we move the changes from development to quality. So once the changes are moved to quality, there would be rigorous round of testings for integration testing. So where ITC is integration test cycle, SIT is system integration testing. ITC is integration test cycle, SIT is system integration testing. And UAT, because in the client SMEs, the Tata Motors SMEs will do the integration testing and see with different modules how the integration is happening, all the processes. And the end users who will be daily creating the sale orders, purchase orders, payments and all, they will at the end come and see if the system is good, what we developed, user acceptance testing. So once that is done, then the changes are moved to production. So integration testing would be done in couple of rounds, minimum 2-3 rounds. We will do different cycles, different scenarios with integrated, how if actually what we developed or intended to develop is running or not. And then at the end, users will test if their daily activities they are able to do or not. Then the changes are moved to production where the actual business process will work. creating the purchase orders, creating the sale orders, creating the different things and all. Sandbox is an SAP terminology for a test system. Sandbox means just a test system SAP will use. Or if at all any requirement comes for which we have to do a proof of concept, we can do using sandbox also. This is the dev quality production approach we will have for every project. Sandbox in some projects we will have, some we may not have. It's up to the client to decide if sandbox has to be kept or not. So any questions, any doubts on this? Okay. So if no questions, everyone able to understand? So now we come up with, after this, the next thing that comes up is what is the clients you have to log in, client and login process. So you see, I hope most of you have the SAP setup like GUI like this. So we will have an SAP server and maintenance. Okay. So where if you go to the properties, you will see like this is called the GUI. Okay. So SAP GUI setup. Okay. With the connection you will be maintaining, where you will see there would be in the properties, you will be able to see that the application server instance system ID. So application server and will be like this, and instance and system ID would be given, which we will have to add so that we can log into the GUI, the graphic user interface, the graphic user interface. So when you try to log in, you see client 100 is sandbox with demo data, client 200 like that. You will have different, what we say, different details on the information here for every system, be it your project system also, you'll have the same. So where you will have that the client you are using, this client is not your Tata Motors. I repeat, this is an SAP client, not your Tata Motors customer or client whom we implement. So what happens is, now you go do a user password and you will do the login. What happens in a real time is you will have this, like let's suppose 100 config client, 101 ABAP client, 102 master data loading client, okay, 103 testing client. That is nothing but UT client we call. So usually for development system only, okay, for dev systems only, you will have the config client, ABAP client, master data client, testing client, and all kind of things, okay. So which you will be logging into different clients. So you as a functional consultant wants to do the configuration, you will do client 100, you will give your login and login. If you are an ABAP if you are an ABAP consultant for coding, you will go do a 101 client and do your login. So each client will have a different password. Of course, user ID can be the same, but different passwords and maintenance, so that configuration should be done in development client. So in 100 client, ABAP will have coding client separate, which the changes will be moved to testing client, and in the testing client only we will test the changes in development. Whereas for QA and prod and sandbox, no different, only single client will have, because you don't have any different things. In quality, you will only test. Production, you will only use the system. Sandbox, you will only test. So that's why quality, production, sandbox will have only one client. This client I'm talking about, not the customer. Please be informed. So in development systems only in SAP, you will have a config client, ABAP client, coding client, and the testing client or the master data loading client, where different activities can be done and the testing and finally can be done. Now comes the question is, this is the basic introductions on the SAP. Now we will also go on to the login scenarios. Okay, so we will be logging in as well. So now you do a user password input and login. So maybe I'll have to do 100 for this system. So once you log in, you will see the SAP menu on the, you see SAP easy access screen like this. Okay. The SAP easy access screen like this, where any information of the client can be maintained, like a photo like this. If not, you can keep it empty also. That would be a ABAP work or basis work. We don't do that. Okay. So this server, what you are seeing is the S4 HANA 2021 fully activated server. SAP S/4HANA is the latest version of SAP we are using in the market. 2022 is latest, but it's released in now, I think this year, November. So it's not into the market yet so easily for us to use fully. So now, once you log in, you will see three things you will see. That is, on the top, you will see a menu bar. This is the menu bar. This is the toolbar with command field. I repeat, toolbar with command field. And this is the SAP menu you will have. Okay, I think before that you see something called system requirements. Usually minimum of 2 GB RAM or 4 GB RAM also will work. Any laptops, any issues, normal simple ones will work. You see 4 GB RAM, 2 GB RAM. I have worked on 2 GB RAM Windows systems also where SAP works. This GUI whole setup. So you need not to worry. Disk space of this much, very small space SAP asks for. So you need not to worry about the installation. Of course, yours is your office laptop, so you can use it as well. So, and the client logins we talked about. Now we go into the login. You see, we are done with this PPT. We'll be covering the next one later. Okay. So now you go to this menu bar, toolbar with command field, and the system. What we say, bottom left corner is the status bar we have. So before we will be talking about it, one thing we'll see is, so you see the menu bar will have different options. So the menu bar, new window or restore or close, right? Menu bar, user menu, SAP menu, workplace, different options you will have. So the menu options, what you have will be different in each transaction you use. In each transaction you use, the menu options will be different. That is, if you do a transaction called ME21N, you will have an option here. You see purchase order, create purchase order, save, and all. Edit, different options you will have. Okay. Maybe if you do to try to do a goods receipt, in that transaction, you will have the different menu options. So remember, the menu options will be different from transaction to transaction. The menu options will be different from transaction to transaction. And the toolbar will be having the command field. The toolbar will be having the command field. So in the toolbar, if you see different options like go back, go completely back is this one. Just take a step back is this one, or go to the next is usually the green that comes. And any save you want to do, this option you can use. And here you see you want to print or find any control F you can do here, and page up, page down, right? You can do. Here you see something called new GUI window, right? So before I talk about this new GUI window, you see here in the bottom right corner, you will see system, client, user ID, then program, transaction, report, response time, and all will be there. So if I do the system S4H100, what is this one? I'll show you. If you see next new GUI window, it will open S4H2. You see S4H3 came up. Okay, no worries. Then if you go to S4H2, 4, everything will come. S4H4, S4H5, new GUI one more time, 6, so 7, like that. Every new window you open, the new windows will open. So in real-time projects, I repeat, in real-time project systems, the max number of windows you can open is 6 only, guys. The max number of windows you can open is only 6. But this test systems usually support more windows. But you see these many SAP parallel screens you can open to do different transaction in each screen. I repeat, each screen you can have a different transaction. Here you want to create a PO, here you want to do a GR, here you want to do an IR, here you want to create a material, here you want to do a sale order, here you want to do a payment. Different transactions can be done. So in order to do different transactions parallelly or open some display transactions, you need to have the parallel screens open. So the max screens you can have open is 6 only in the projects usually. Here is a test system, it goes more. Okay. So if you don't want them, what can you do? You can close here. You see, close 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. Right? So if you try to close this also, Yes, if task do you want to log off, you say yes, totally SAP closes. And you again want to log in, okay, you will log in. So the number of screens you want can be usually 6, and which user, what transaction you are in also SAP will say with this new GUI window option. Okay. And you have something at the options customize local layout. So in the options, okay, for everyone, please do this setup in your SAP systems. You have to go to this customize local layout, go to the options. In the options, if you see, you will have a screen like this. Visual data. In the visual data, you will have the themes. So whatever the theme, it's okay. You don't no need to change usually. If you want to change the theme, you can change. So font settings, in what font you want to see the SAP words, okay, and branding, what brand, and this time custom colors. So you see a default SAP signature default blue, or you want a red, purple, green, or gold. What do you want? You can select save as, click apply, and OK if you want to change. So I like the blue. Usually I keep it blue. But if what usually we do is, if development system, we will use blue, quality we use green, production we use red, like that. The reason is to differentiate from development to quality to production easily, because every SAP system looks the same, right? So rather than to be on safer side, to be easily able to identify, what we do in a real time is blue for development, one color for quality, one color for production systems. If you want, you can change, but if you don't want, you can keep as is. But interaction design, if you go to visualization one. Interaction design with visualization one. In controls, you have show keys within drop down list. Click on this, yes. In the controls, show keys within drop down list, sort by keys with drop down list. You do this, guys. Just you both keep tick and click on apply and OK. So this is required for us to do all the transactions. You can easily see the prefixes in them. So I'll wait here for a second. Maybe you want to see this, you can see, so that it will easily do. So this is the basic setup you will do. Rest all nothing is required. And now you see the menu bar we talked about, and the toolbar and command field if you have to use a command. Okay, command field is basically SAP has always been a transaction code basis tool. So you will do every transaction what you have will be with a transaction code. Like you give the commands, it works. But the commands you have to give is either with /n or /o. /n means if you give ME21N, right, it will be for create purchase order. If you give something different transaction without prefix of /n or /o, system won't take. System doesn't understand. Either /n or /o should be given for SAP to understand the command. So if you give /n migo in the same screen, new transaction will open. The same screen, new transaction will open. But if you want a different screen, /o should be given. So where a different transaction, different screen will open. So you should give either /n or /o. Remember that, guys. /n you give, then only SAP will be able to understand the commands. Either /n if in the same screen you want a different transaction, but /o if you want a different screen, different transaction. And if you want to completely close the SAP, you can have /n ex. /n ex is for completely closing the SAP. Okay. So now we move on to this SAP menu. So where you will have different options, like which we will be seeing later. Maybe like in the logistics, you'll go to different transactions of metals management, which you can do instead of transaction. I said, right, the commands, instead of going to the commands you want to do using the menu, you can do. So instead of creating ME21 for create, you will see you can go here and do an create, double click, it will go to transaction code also. So instead of giving the transaction codes, you want to do this menu, you can use the menu now. So now let me go back. No. So the SAP menu is there. This is one option you have. And what else we have? Yeah. So menu bar is done. Toolbar with command field is done. We are going to talk about the status bar. So status bar is basically if you go to ME21 and let's suppose I'll show any data you input. Okay, any data you input. If you have any issues with that data, SAP will give an error or warning or message success. How is that? So let me show you. So let's suppose I'll give this vendor. So it is asking a purchase group. That means errors will come in red. That means without giving the purchasing group, I cannot move forward. Without giving the purchasing group, I cannot move forward. I'll give it. It's now asking give a company code. So I give the material. System is asking required a condition. So let me take any issues you have in SAP, the error will come up, which error will not allow you to do move forward. So I'll give 10 pieces I need. And system is asking, please enter a required condition. Let me move that and give a condition and maintain the price here, 10 euros. So 10 piece, 10 euros. You see, if it's an error, system will give the in red. If it's a warning, warning can be ignored, system will give it in amber or yellow. Warnings can be ignored. SAP don't usually stop you from posting a transaction. But of course, yes, it's not a good practice to ignore an warning and go ahead in a real practice. So if you see the effective price is 10.10 and metal price is 1.65 and I'm giving something 10 euros, SAP is giving boss, you are differing from the amount. So I'm okay if I want to do, I can check, but warnings will be in yellow, which can be considered as good to go. SAP will not stop, but that's not an actual practice to go. So after you give the data, okay, after you give the data, so you will do a check. So you see these are all the warnings SAP is giving. Following mandatory roles, mandatory, MRP is a special procurement, K for this, effective price, a special scheduling agreement exists, right? Different things SAP says. You want to ignore all of them, you can ignore. Or if there are no errors, usually what happens, if there are warnings, SAP will show. If there are no warnings, SAP will show no warnings, no messages, you are good to go. Then you can create a save the purchase order. So if you save a purchase order, what happens? You see standard PO created under the number. So success messages will come in green. I repeat, the success messages will come under green color. So red, yellow, and green for hard stop errors or issue warnings and success messages. Okay. So any issues you get in the bottom left corner only is the status, like error or warning or message in every transaction you'll get here only. That's why we call it as the status bar. Menu bar, toolbar with command field, and the status bar. So any transaction you do /n /o. Don't forget. Every transaction you should do /n or /o. Don't forget that. Okay. After you give /n ME21N, let's suppose a transaction code. You should click either this green tick or your enter button on the keyboard. I repeat, green tick or enter button. Anything you can click. So if you click this, it will take to the transaction, or I want to click it my this thing /OME21N. I will click on my keyboard. I'm not clicking this. Okay. I'm just clicking on my keyboard enter. It will take. So that is how you can use the transaction codes in SAP. So we have discussed the basic introductions so far, and now we are going to talk about an data cycle in SAP on procurement perspective on procurement, and we'll move on to the next aspects technically. So we are done with the introductions so far. We'll be moving on to the simple procurement cycle in SAP today. All right. So no issues then. We'll move forward, and we will talk about the procurement cycle today. We are done with the introduction, so we'll move on to the procurement cycle. So today, now the concept would be to cover is the procurement cycle. And after the procurement cycle, we have the disclaimer site, and we are going with the agenda of creating it and doing a procurement cycle today. That is, in the agenda, we are going to cover the procurement cycle first, then the parts of procurement cycle, the requirement determination, then the PR, PO, GR, IR cycle. So procurement cycle, we start right. It starts with basically requirement determination. So requirement determination is basically what do you want. So requirement determination covers up what do you want, what kind of things you want to buy for your company, materials, services, assets. These are the three different categories of materials you frequently buy. For example, raw materials for your production, equipment maintenance, equipment servicing, kind of services, or something like machine painting, wall painting, gardening, any kind of service in your plant or company. Buying the assets, plots or lands or buildings or this equipment you want to, how you want to maintain the asset format, right? You can keep it also. So any materials or services or assets you have, right? You can create them as the materials or services as assets, and you can do a procurement for them. You can do a procurement for them. So requirement determination is about what you want. You want to buy a material or a service or an asset. So you have to decide your requirement. So let's suppose you decide you want the raw materials for your production. You want to do the raw materials for your production. Then once you decide what do you want, let's suppose you decide what you want the raw material for production. The next thing that comes up is source determination. So source determination is basically whom do you want to buy from? Whom do you want to buy from? So if you decide you want to buy in vendor, right? So you source determination is basically you know any vendor you want to buy from, or you have a contract with any vendor, right? Or you don't know any vendor and you want to go for a bidding process. Bidding means you don't know any vendor who supplies at what price, so you want to go for that vendor what we say vendor setup, right? So you go to a bidding process, we call it as RFQ in SAP. So if you don't know any vendor to buy that material at what price, you go for an RFQ, you request for quotations. Okay, request for quotations, and that request for quotations what you create to the vendors, they will give the quotation. So you ask for a material. So you remember, right? Even if you want any material, any item, you go to, maybe if you're building a home, usually you go for, or maybe you are going for a bike, you go to multiple showrooms or cars and you take the quotations. So you ask for request for quotation, the guys will give the quotations, and then you select a source. So let's suppose you have a 3 4 Honda showrooms in your city, maybe in a city like Hyderabad or Bangalore. So each showroom you go and take a request for quotation. So one guy, all of them gives a quotation. Some guys will say some offer like, okay, you take this at this price, I'll give you some free accessories. Or some guys will have a price less, but accessories will not be free, right? So like that, you see that you take the quotations and then you select the source in order to buy my requirement, which guy is correct. Okay. Then after the source selection is done, you will order. But not every time you will have to go for a source selection, right? Because because once you select a source for a material, it's good. You need not to order, you need not to go for again every time the RFQ. You have a confirmed vendor whom will you use to create the purchase orders. So requirement determination, source determination, like identifying the vendor to purchase. If you don't know any vendor, you go for a bidding or RFQ process. And then you know what to buy and whom to buy from. Now what we know is what to buy and whom to buy from. So once you got to know, what is the next step? You will create a purchase order. What is a purchase order? A purchase order is a formal document sent to the vendor requesting goods delivery. I repeat, a purchase order is a formal document sent to the vendor requesting goods delivery. Boss, I need so and so material at so and so cost at so and so date at my location. Can you please deliver it to me? Okay. So this is a purchase order is a formal document sent to the vendor. Then what we understand is basically, okay, the purchase order is sent with an output, like you want an print or an email or a fax or what, you will send the email to the or the output to the vendor. So then only the vendor will know, right? So you create a purchase order and any follow-up is required you will do, or any changes required you will do. And then for the purchase order you created and sent to the vendor, okay, for the purchase order you created and sent to the vendor, The goods receipt should be done when the vendor will give the goods to you. When the vendor will give the goods to you, you will do a goods receipt for the purchase order. That means I received so and so stock from this purchase is what we update in goods receipt. For the purchase order we created and sent from SAP, we will receive the physical goods in our plant. For that goods, we will update the goods receipt that okay, as per this purchase order ordered, this much stock we got. Why do we do that? Because when we have to take the bill and do the payment, we will get to know okay, this much amount we need to pay because this much we got the stock for. And also to keep the stock levels up in SAP. And then once the goods are received, we will do what? Invoice. Invoice is nothing but the bill the vendor will send. Boss, you purchased this much. I received this much. I have sent you this much quantity. So for which you have to pay me this much amount. So for the quantity you purchased, I delivered. This is the amount you need to give. So this amount invoice, we accept it from the procurement space so that the finance can clear the payment. This is called the end-to-end procurement cycle. So it starts with requirement determination of what to buy and where to buy from, buying, receiving the goods, accepting the invoice, and doing the payment. So this procurement cycle is standard everywhere in the world, I would say. This procurement cycle will be standard everywhere in the world. When I say when it's standard everywhere in the world, I'll give you a couple of examples. So the first thing is basically um, I'll give you maybe let's suppose you want to have lunch now. So you want to have lunch is your requirement. Then what is your requirement in detail? You want to have your North Indian food or a South Indian food? What do you want to eat? So let's suppose if you decide you want a North Indian food, that's your requirement. Then the source determination, which vendor you will want to uh, eat it from, right? So you will select, let's suppose maybe Haldirams or Bikaner Wala. They have their outlets. Okay, so you decide. So you select a vendor, you order the food, right? The food you order, you receive the food, you take it, you eat it, you take the bill, you come out. So and you take that's an what we say consumable procurement. You immediately consumed what you need. Whereas if you see something like your mother has told you in home or your wife has told you, okay, I want groceries, so and so list. So you take the requirement, then you want to go which vendor? You want to go to DMart, Reliance, Star, Ratnadeep, whatever, right? Once you identify the source, you will go to that, you order it, what you got, you take that, you take the items, you take the bill, you do the payment, and you come. This is an stockable procurement because the food you take, you immediately eat it, but groceries you consume day by day when you use it, right? So wherever you go, the procurement cycle is same, I say, but the types of procurement you do will be different. So that too in an industry grade you do are very, very different cycles in different scenarios. So those all procurement cycles and scenarios we will be covering, and we will be proceeding with a simple procurement cycle to run in SAP. Then we'll be moving on to different other things. And meanwhile, to go right, so you see this integration aspects are covering in 452, but 450 will have that more integration aspects like CBP versus MRP, and then your integration areas with Fiori technical and also would be covered. So both are still okay. So I think and if it's covered, let's suppose with this one, what nowadays we are also proposing people if they wish to go is there is one thing from cloud also SAP is giving. So SAP procurement cloud, sourcing and procurement cloud SAP is giving. And maybe this also is one more aspect. This is a cloud one SAP is giving. SAP sourcing and procurement implementation cloud. So where I think they are talking about more with Ariba integration, configuration, BP testing, then activate methodology, best practices, and that what we say, um, best practices, right? All these things they are asking questions about. So you see this also questions like cloud security, GDPR for Europe, global data regulation protection program, right? And identity access management IAM. So these are something like which is goes more from only from single tenant, multi-tenant cloud systems you talk particularly, right? I think there is a good amount of what we say learning hub document on sorry videos also on this, but first we go to 450 or 452 on-premise one, then maybe if you can read and go through this cloud is my point of view that can be done. And the problem with this is I am not sure if this cloud also has that, but stay current is what SAP is coming up with. So stay current means we have to write an exam it was every once a year, but now it's doing twice a year. So twice in a year, that SAP comes with the latest more data, right? You have to clear. Like suppose you see 2208 means 2022 08. So SAP will come up with 2212 also. So 22.2, 22.5, 22.8, 22.12. Four versions each year. So once in a quarter, you will get one version upgrade from SAP. So what SAP believes is just earlier one version you go through each year is okay, but now SAP says you have to stay current for every 2 quarters once. So that's also with every cloud SAP is coming up with. So stay current means with Learning Hub access only we can write down. It's not a proctored exam, but once we clear that every year if we are stay current, then only SAP considers that the certification is valid. Else, no. Usually it's preferable to do with the company's access and then do. So, or maybe if you go personal also, usually TCS kind of companies will reimburse, right? So better keep the company details and go with so that you'll have the Learning Hub access from, so it will be integrated and you can do. So some things I'll try to cover that is basically if we see. So as for HANA, we see this, it runs on only HANA database, and we can see there is in ECC days, there is no cloud supportivity, but now we do on-premise and cloud we talked about. So something in a change perspective, we call there are a couple of changes which SAP is giving with S4 HANA, that is OLTP and OLAP. OLTP talks about high transaction processing and OLAP talks about high querying volume. So high transaction or high querying volumes. So is the option technically OLTP and OLAP call, but is something which SAP is giving now. So what it means to be you, what it means for you and me as a functional consultant is probably you might all recall in all the ECC projects, MRP used to be run post working hours, and some plants will have only some days the MRP running. So most common design it used to be there in all the ECC projects is like if you have 10, 20, 100 plants, we will decide the in with a variant. Okay, for these days only for these plants the MRP will run, not for everyone else. So this kind of differences you see basically, right? It will be done in ECC days with because to balance the loads. But with now this OLTP high transaction processing and high querying volumes capacities, what SAP says is says I'm saying you can run MRP any number of times a day. I repeat, you can run MRP any number of times a day. So that's the biggest statement SAP has said, like you want anytime you want to run, you go and do the transaction. So instead of MD0123, we got MD01N, so which where you can run also. And of course, there is a good amount of processings which SAP is giving with OLTP and OLAP, where I saw there was a customer where which is very similar to Walmart. Okay. So in the peaks time, they had that for 6 hours of business, they'll might have for every 5 minutes they can have 2000 sales orders created. So that was the range of their business they'll come up with. So how do they do is with a custom program and all they wanted, like with these things, or maybe you manually do it. So but that was a performance testing we did in one of the projects to make sure that yes, it's working. So that kind of heavy transactions with huge volumes can also be done through, like in a mostly in a dairy and food and beverage industry, I have seen that. And this is one more difference. OLAP is a technical thing, but what it means to us is a high transactions and with huge volumes we can do. And the next thing we talk about is SAP NetWeaver portals. So for anything we want to do, we used to have an SAP NetWeaver portals in ECC days, but now with S4 HANA, we have the GUI, and all the GUI transactions can be done even in Fiori also. All the GUI transactions can be done in Fiori. So Fiori is a web browser based technology from SAP. Okay. Fiori is a web browser based technology from SAP, where SAP is trying to build this Fiori, which is there in ECC days also, but with S4 it's been mandatory. So in every S4 HANA implementation, no end user will log into GUI. I repeat, no end user will log into GUI, and all the transactions they'll be doing in Fiori only. Okay. So now comes the question is, how do you log in and open Fiori and all? We'll see. So before that, Fiori is very easy to use is what I say. And what is the processes and all I'll be covering independently. But just as a quick view, if I cover, so there is a T code for to open Fiori, that is /n/ui2/FLP. /n/ui2/FLP. You click enter. So you see there is a web browser that is opening up. You want to open, you go to advanced. You see this one. A web browser is opening up, and you need not to open from the GUI always. So the same login for Fiori and GUI would be there. There is no separate login you will have. Okay. So if you want a different login, it's up to the basis to give, but you will have the same login. And this is how the Fiori link screen comes, and it will load a bit slow. Remember, guys, Fiori is a SAP on browser. So all the functionalities to work on SAP will have to work on Fiori. So it would be a bit slow than GUI, but no end user will be given access to GUI in S4 implementations. Only Fiori will be working. So any end user transactions we will be using during Fiori. What is the benefit of it? There is no bulky white elephant SAP setup to be done in GUI in the desktops of when the users. And the advantage is this Fiori is a browser based. You can use it in your laptops, mobiles, tablets, and desktops. So there would be apps kind of process like you see on my Windows, right? So when I click my Windows on my laptop, the way I want to use a Word document I want to open, the same way I want to open a create purchase order, I can open. So this kind of tile-based approach which SAP is giving with Fiori, which eases the transactions because it's a standard SAP offering which we can use rather than customizing the NetWeaver portals and bringing on information and with heavy controls onto it. So SAP Fiori is the latest option which SAP is giving with S4 HANA, which we are implementing for every client. This is one more change.
Alright, let's test your knowledge. And here is a question for you. What provides a single source of truth for supplier data in SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement? Option A, Supplier Lifecycle Management. Option B, Ariba Network. Option C, Strategic Sourcing. Option D, Supplier Collaboration. Take a moment to think, and when you're ready, choose the correct option. And remember, each choice holds the key to unlocking the answer. Good luck, and type the correct answer in the comment section. Hello everyone, I wanted to provide a brief overview of ZaranTech's training program for SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement. In this comprehensive course, we delve into the intricacies of SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement, providing an in-depth exploration of its cutting-edge features and functionalities. Whether you're a procurement professional aiming to stay at the forefront of industry trends or an organization seeking to streamline and optimize your procurement processes, our training is tailored to meet your needs. ZaranTech's renowned instructor will guide you through the practical scenarios covering everything from strategic sources to contract management, gaining the skills and knowledge to navigate the complexities of modern procurement, ensuring you will be well prepared to drive the efficiency and make strategic decisions within your organizations. Don't miss the opportunity to elevate your expertise in SAP S/4HANA, Sourcing and Procurement with ZaranTech. Visit the link to discover more about our training program and secure your place in the future of procurement excellence. Empower your procurement journey with ZaranTech today.
So today we are going to talk about the master data changes in S4 HANA. So before we go to master data changes, so what about the org data setup we have in S4 HANA for enterprise structure? So from an enterprise structure perspective, we do a company code, plant, purchase org, P group, right? And then you have the storage location, and in there is no such change you do in the configuration. So it's exactly the same you do as in the ECC only. It's exactly the same. But There would be from master data and including the tables also the same. But from master data perspective, if we talk about material and vendor, there has been a significant changes that is S4 SAP has came up with in S4 HANA. Be it any version, right, from 1511 to 2021, which we have in the market. So these changes we are the agenda for today would be on the S4 HANA procurement, where the master data changes in S4 HANA. This is the disclaimer. This is the agenda. So like I said, what changes we have got in Metal Master and what changes we have gone in Vendor Master. So first thing we start with is the number range limit that you have in ECC is 18. But when it comes to S4 HANA, it can be up to 40. So if you see in if I open any ECC system and just show you for a second, so the difference is in any ECC system you go, the material master length SAP has given is 18. The maximum length of a metal that can be maintained is 18. Whereas in S4 HANA, what happened is it is now till 40. So why did SAP bring this change is there are different other modules in SAP or out of integration with SAP like PLM softwares and SAP SCM, then Ariba and all IBP, APO particularly. There is an integration where they can go up to 121 characters for SAP metals for the items they create. So SAP has given an update that okay till 40 you can increase if you want. So SAP by default for any new system comes from the with the length 18 only. So if you want to extend, you can extend till 40, it can accommodate. So if from 18 to 40, 20, 25, 28, 30, 32, 35, 40, whatever you are okay with, you can extend the material length. But with this said that extension can be done, it's not like every time we anytime we want we can do. So it's preferably good to do this before the implementation starts, before you do any system setup in the system. The reason is if some metals are created and then you change the field length, that would cause inconsistencies in the existing materials. So this, if we have to do, the shortcut T code is FLETS. I'll also go with the path as well. So the shortcut T code is FLETS. So slash and FLETS, if you go, that is you see display view field length extension details. Display view field length extension details. Okay. So let me go back and go to the SPRO path as well. SPRO, reference IMG, then you go to cross application components. Yes, cross application components, general applications, general application functions. In this, you will have field extension. In general application functions, you'll have field extension. In the field extension, if you go to activate extended fields, so there are something like stock requirement, amount, length, and all. But in SAP for materials, you want to have right. SAP says if you want to do this extend field material master field length extension, this note 2232396 should be read. So there is a couple of series of notes SAP has given. 22396 is one, 22326 is one, 32396, and one more note where you have to study through it to as a prerequisite. Okay, this and all changes that's not affecting, this and all will be affecting. This is the process we need to look at before we do the extension. So we have to see if at all we need to extend, we have to come and click a tick and say if at all. Of course, if you have the SID connected, this will take you to that note. If you click on display note, it will lead you to that uh, S user ID launchpad where the way with your S user ID you can log in and see the note. But I don't have at this moment. I have some others, but I cannot open them here. So if you have a S user ID, you can see through that note. So the note will explain what will be done, how it will be done, what can you do and all. But simply to say extend the material, extended material number, you want to extend it. So you will do it in FLETS here. Okay. And the number you want, which is more than 18 or 40, 18 till 40. How will you do it is, it's the same place where we do. That is, if you go to logistics general, material master, basic settings, here you see where is the define output format for material numbers. So in the output format, the shortcut T code for it is OMSL. So you can have the material number range length 35. So it's something someone said it's 35. So you see from 1 to 40 possible length of material number. So someone has already changed in the system total 35 where the number length can be stored with leading zeros in 35. So you see the number range what we have in SAP is still 18. So the 18 numbers what the number range we have and remaining can be up to this. 40 will be the leading zeros that can come and make the number as big as you want that can come out of from other systems to this system or created in this system can go to the other system. So the metal number length is increased to 35. So I'm not doing this change here. The reason is if it's already changed to 35 and already a lot of things are working in this system. But in a fresh implementation, fresh start projects, we can do the metal master length increase from 18 to till 40 any number. So if at all there is a client requirement. So at least in out of all the years in S4, I have not seen from 2007 to till now anywhere. Only in one aerospace and defense requirement, there was a requirement where the third party applications like the PLM softwares, which will originate the materials, EBOM, MBOM, right? They will have the bigger number range than 18. So in that case, we have increased for one of the client till 28 or 30 maybe, because with the leading zeros, the metals will come from that PLM systems. So this is one change where SAP has predominantly given from in the number range perspective. Sorry, I mean the length perspective, because number range will be 18 only. But from the length, you can go till 40 with the leading zeros added. Just to support any integrations with S4 SAP is doing with all the other modules and all other non-third party applications, non-SAP applications as well. This is one thing which SAP has given. So this is about the length only if at all if an extension is required, if the client is particular about with any implement, because particularly I have seen maybe 3 4 clients which are out of not in which not I have not done also, but yes with the softwares like particularly the PLM tools. So PLM tools predominantly Team Center and something else is there, Windchill and all. So where these tools which are predominantly creating only the material basic data with EBOM and MBOM they do, right? Usually they don't have the plant level extensions and all in the PLM tools. So they have this upper limit in they have they enjoy it, and even IBP also nowadays is coming with the with greater limit for materials, the APO and IBP modules in SAP. So that's where with the integration, we have this scenarios that might occur, but normal other scenarios I have in all the 7 to 8 in S4 direct projects I worked, and in I never have seen this too. So we that's where, but yes, this is one change SAP has given. So coming to next point, can any one of you remember what is the material type for service materials in SAP? Dyne is the material type we use for materials in ECC days. But with S4, SAP has came up with a new material type called SERV, something called SERV. So what is the difference and why do we do? I'll explain clearly in the Fiori classes because this has to be taken with Fiori only. So serve material type process will be happening with Fiori only. So during that time, I'll explain. But since we are talking about the changes in material master, this has to be accounted. So I'm accounting it. So there is a new material type called serve, which is very similar to Dyn. So how and all, what are the changes? We'll discuss again. But remember, Dyn is also there, serve is also there. This is one more new addition in the material master change. And third one is material ledger. So we have the material ledger in ECC as well. And the same material ledger is in S4 also. But what happens is material ledger has been made mandatory in S4 HANA. I repeat, material ledger is made mandatory in S4 HANA. So what is it? Us as an, let's suppose as an consultant is we cannot extend a material to any of the plant level views like you're purchasing general plant 1 2 and accounting without maintaining the material ledger for a plant. So basically if we talk about material ledger, right, so material ledger is actually relevant to the product costing. Material ledger is relevant to the product costing, where it will keep record. Okay, material ledger maintains the record of all price changes at the goods movement document level. I repeat, material ledger maintains the record of all price changes at goods movement document level. So whatever the price changes, at what price we brought, sold, transferred, everything will be stored, and so that it helps in the actual product costing of the material for the uh, product costing guys in the plant. So this is the, you will say, product costing process, where it will be required in most process industries and manufacturing industries. Is in ECC, it's a matured solution from SAP people used to use. So, but now in S4, but ECC, it should be like, you want it, you have to activate it. But in S4 HANA, SAP has made the material ledger mandatory. SAP has made the material ledger mandatory. So now what happens is, if you see, one more advantage of material ledger in S4HANA is that you can have your inventory valuation report in multiple currencies. It's like up to 8 different currencies you can see the inventory valuation. So these are the advantages and benefits, but the primary hiccup for us as an consultant is, we cannot extend our any org level views. Only the basic data level view can be created for material. If this extension is required, material ledger should be made active and productive. I repeat, material ledger should be made active and productive. In that case, if material ledger should be made active and productive, what should be done? So this will be done in all the projects by finance consultants only. So there will be having a material ledger complete setup for the finance guys. They'll be using it. But yes, we also should be aware, since it helps. So that's why I'm covering this topic in MM also, because we have a direct impact for that. So what happens is, let's try to create a a new plant. Let me go to enterprise structure. Let me go to definition, logistics general, define, copy, delete, check plant, copy, delete, check plant, copy org unit. I should have 1710 as the plant. So copying 1710, 1711 I am creating. Okay, so let me save in the config. Plant 1710 copy to 1711. Everything is good. So let me, the plant is created, we are good. So now if I go first, after every creation of a plant, like we do in MM, right? So all the MM consultants, when they configure the plant in S4 projects, we are supposed to inform the finance consultants to that, okay, so and so plant has been created. Please make the material ledger active and productive. Material ledger active and productive. So material ledger activation, how is it done? Is OMX1 T code. So if you go to /OMX1, so here in the plant level, you see valuation area, company code, material ledger type, and status, material active or price determination will be there. So if you go to 1710, the material ledger, it comes with the material ledger type 0001. Okay, under each company code. So since I copied 1710 and created 1711, so it same belongs to the same company code and material ledger. So material ledger is made active and price determination came up. So in projects, if you don't get it, we'll ask the finance consultants to do, but usually copy and create will come up, right? So we copy first the first time and create, so it might not come. But you see material ledger active. So this tick mark should be there. So material ledger active indicates the material ledger has been activated for the valuation area. Then you have price determination control. So if you go to the price determination control, what happens is there are two options. Okay, there are two options. You see value 2 and 3, transaction based, single or multi-level. Transaction based, single or multi-level. So if you go to this documentation, SAP talks about the same transaction based or single multi-level. You see transaction based price determination option 2, With price control V, the material is valuated at moving average. I repeat, if you see transaction-based material price control, if you have the moving average, the material is calculated at moving average. With price control S, the material is valuated at the standard price. Okay, but so that means this is the expected behavior, right? So if normally if you give the moving average price of the V, then means the material will be at moving average price calculation if it says S. But if you keep the value 3, single or multi-level price determination, the valuation price, standard price remains unchanged and periodic unit price is calculated for the material valuation of the closed period. That means even if you keep the moving average price V, the standard price is only calculated in the current period for if you keep the value 3. So the option is only possible for the material with price control S and is only recommended if an additional multiple currencies and or valuations you use single or multiple price determination. See, with single or multi-level price determination, a periodic unit price is updated for information purpose only, but can only be used for material valuation in the closed period. So what happens is, if you keep the value 3, even if you keep moving average, the system will not allow you to do the moving average price calculation for a material. It behaves as a standard price only. If you want both standard as standard and moving average as moving average, then you should keep the transaction based material price, that is value 2. So remember this indicator is this dependency is that material ledger activation 2 tick is required. So that's the reason why we should keep 2 only. Why 2? Because we want the S as standard price calculated with V as moving average price calculated, not as only standard price always. So if at all any process industries need that, okay, they'll keep on the standard price only, and they'll do an moving average price periodic price calculation in the closed period. They can do 3, but at least I have not seen that requirement anytime. We want both the behaviors in all the clients, so we do this config as it is. So this is how material ledger will be activated. So if there is any, you see, if there is anything like this, 2010 does not have in this company code. You should click OK and you should click 2, then you will save. That is how the material ledger would be made active. I think the reason for that might be because in the material ledger type is my point of view. Let me go to, I think I've seen it somewhere in with finance in one of the projects. So with the material ledger type, it would be there usually. You want manual currency settings or automated, something would be there here. OMX2 and OMX3, something would be there. OMX1, OMX2, OMX3 are the T codes. So where at, okay, yeah, this is the one, like valuation area with company code material ledger type we activate. So material ledger type configuration is in OMX2, and in OMX1 we have the different part. These are the two examples. We see 171011 and 2011. Sorry, 2010. Completely with finance. They first configure the material ledger type, and the company code to plant always we already have. So company code with material ledger type assignment they do in OMX3. So if you see OMX2 is the material ledger type config. So material ledger type with FI currency type, CO currency type, then manual, they said manual currency settings with what currencies. I said, you remember how many currencies we can have. So up to group currency means up to 8 currencies we can have. Company code currency means only one currency we can have. So this configuration would be done by finance first with the material ledger type. So maybe if I pick something else also, this material ledger type they configure will be assigned to the company code in OMX3. In OMX3 valuation area with company code to material type, like basically the company code to material ledger type, because valuation areas is always at a company code level we create, plant at a company code level. So then basically after every material we, oh sorry, every plant we create, plant to company code level, this data will look like this here, and just the material ledger type is already assigned. Then what will happen is, for that plant we need to activate, we need to give this tick, like usually the finance will do tick and price determination 2 and save. So this activation is done of material ledger in OMX1. Then material ledger is made productive in CKM start. CKM start, material ledger is made productive. So production startup of material ledger. So for whatever the plant you want to do, right? You will have to click on remove background processing. You can do a test run and check, then remove the test run and do a check again. So if I execute for 17, give from and to plant the plant what you want. So SAP says all the parameters it will check with, and finally it says plant can be productive. So if it's green, right, during the test run like this, you can go and do an production startup for the plant here. Usually what happens is there are two types of setups from the finance that comes up. If the material ledger is not active and productive, we cannot extend the materials to this plant. Sometimes there would be setup that where if the material ledger is active and not productive, then also we can do the plant level extension. So let me try and see in this system. If I go to MM01, any material, let me try to extend to the purchasing, general plant 1, 2, and accounting. So mostly it should not allow me for 1711 plant. See, material ledger must be set productive for valuation area. So if the material ledger is not active and productive, then the plant level extensions of any the material will not be allowed in that plant, any material type or anything. So now all the plant unlock the metals in the plant, it says after the metal ledger is productive. So all the metals can be extended to the plant level extensions with accounting data. So if we have to do now, maybe if I go for that material slash NMM01, so if we go to accounting one, let's pick a valuation class. So what happened? 3000. So now we see price determination 2 with ML active tick is coming up. And let's suppose if I maintain standard price or something is okay. You see metal price analysis is there, right? So this is grayed out now. Okay, this is grayed out now. But what is the benefit of it? Let me show you. If it's so it's now extended. You see RM128, we are able to extend it to the accounting also. If we come back to this material in a, let's suppose in a plant called 1710, where the transactions happened for the material. Okay, so you see someone maintained the price determination 3. So even if you have a standard price, or here in SAP we are calling it as periodic unit price. Okay, periodic unit price is nothing but the moving average price. Okay, so here if you go to metal price analysis, it will show each period wise. Okay, you see 12, 20, 22. Each period wise system will show you beginning inventory, receipts. So whatever the metal transfer postings, cumulative, whatever the transactions that happened for this material in each period system will show. So if I take a step back to 11th period, whatever the transactions that happens, it should show. Maybe if not this material, let me see. Any other material I can show. Let's go to the material price analysis. All the transactions we should have will come out usually. It would show. There are no much big transactions in this period, but yes, whatever that comes will be shown up like GR, GI and all. So let me think I have another system where I have the good example, which I'll show you. Maybe after the training also you'll be able to see. We'll also do that. So June 29 accounting. If you say this material price analysis, 10th period nothing is there, 9th period nothing is there. So you see 412 and 201 happened. So for this material it shows some goods receipts happened for this purchase order level. So it shows the change value, price, total stock, total value, what is the new price or any change in price, everything comes up like this. So this is how the material ledger price analysis will come up for us, and it helps in the product costing for the product costing guys. But for us, what it means as to in the MM processes is after every plant creation, we have to inform the finance team to activate the material ledger and make it productive, which will be done by finance using the T codes OMX1 and CKM start. So this will help us to maintain the plant level data for the accounting data, particularly in the what we say Metal Master. So which this SAP has made it mandatory, and yeah, we need it. That's it. This is all about the Metal Ledger, and these three are the big changes that we have in Metal Master perspective in SAP. SAP has given us as a mandatory that to the reason where the inventory can be maintained in multiple currencies with inventory valuation report. That's the biggest finance advantage SAP showcases with. So how and all that finance will be using. So where it's usually in three currencies in ECC, but now it can be managed till 8 currencies is what SAP says. But that's a finance aspect of the and also it keeps the metal ledger price maintained accounted so that it helps in product costing. So these are the two advantages of, I mean to say, these are the two reasons why metal ledger has been made mandatory for all the processes in SAP, sorry, in S4 HANA by SAP. But that's an by effect or byproduct kind of an effect we after effect we have is the accounting data cannot be maintained without metal ledger making activate or product active or productive for us in the MM process, because it doesn't make any difference in for us in MM or SD process for metal ledger active or not, unless we are into the manufacturing industry with product costing active. So to your question, simple answer wise, I see these are the only two answers, two statements where which the reason for which SAP has made it mandatory, it helps for the business. So after the Metal Master changes are done, we are going to talk about the Vendor Master. So Vendor Master, it's like totally a change of the approach of how we create vendors in SAP. So SAP has given with the came up with a concept called CVI integration. So sorry, before I go to CV Vendor Master, any questions on the material? Anyone? I hope we discussed well. Any issues? Anyone? So Vendor Master, we have got the concept called CVI integration, Customer Vendor Integration in S4 HANA. So what is the difference? What is the difference is, let me talk about in detail. First, let me do one thing, that is, if I go to any ECC system and I do an creation of vendor. So what T codes we have here? We have a list of T codes called MK01, MK01, MK02, MK03, FK01, FK02, FK03, XK01, XK02, XK03, right? MK is for purchasing data. FK is for what we say the finance company code data. XK0123 is for both company code and purchasing level data, right? So you give an account group, you go to the vendor and you give the data and you will create in FK0, XK01. And what company code purchase order you want, you will extend them to, right? But in S4 HANA, what happened is there is a change that SAP has brought up with, where SAP says if you go here, you go to the T code called XK01, that is obsolete. XK01 is totally obsolete. So it says redirecting to the transaction BP as transaction XK01 is obsolete. So the new T code, all of them combined together we have in SAP is S4 HANA is BP. BP is stands for business partner. So BP is the single T code you have to create, change, display business partners, vendors, customers, employees, contact persons. Everything should be maintained in business partner only. I repeat, everything will be maintained in BP only. So now what SAP is coming up with the concept with S4 is everyone is a business partner in your business. You sell something to a guy, he is a customer, right? And you buy something from a guy, he's a vendor. And if anyone works for you, he's an employee to you, right? And if any contacts you have from the vendor, it's a contact person. So all these guys you have are called business partners in SAP. I repeat, whom you buy from is vendor, whom you sell to is a customer, right? Then whom you the person who works for you is your employee, right? And then particularly vendor contact person from vendor side, customer contact person, customer side. So all these guys are your business partners because they are part of your business, SAP says. And this business partner you create, one guy, okay, Uday is the business partner you create. And he can be a vendor to you and he can be a customer to you. He can be buying you can buy X product from you, but you can sell Y product to him, right? It's quite possible in the retail and distribution scenarios. If you see, it's quite possible. One guy can be a both vendor and customer to you. And a person who works for you, basically your employee. So we used to have an employee master creation and the partner setup in ECC days, which is there in S4 also. But you can also create them as business partners and extend them to the employee business partners to make them employees. Okay. And you have the vendor contact persons you will create as just a details, right? Customer contact also. So KNAK table, right? So these all will be created as business partners. But how? There are three categories of business partners to categorize the business partners on their process. So business partner with person, business partner with category organization, business partner category with group. So when will you use what? It's up to our business process. So usually as per standard SAP, what we say, best practices, business partner with person category are created with actual persons, natural persons like your contact persons, your employees, right? You will create them as business partners with person. Your employees and your contact person kind of people you will create with BP category person. But who is an organization? Your vendor or customer is actually a company, an organization whom you deal with, right? Will be created as business partner category with organization. But what is group? A group or syndicate of people, right? Maybe you see this latest movie called Pushpa, you understand, right? They call it as a syndicate. Of course, before that also you might have heard. So syndicate is group of people work together for a common business aim, right? So a group of people or companies together. So in that case, business partner with category group, right, can be used. So business partner, so when do you use what? So like you want to create a vendor with the business partner person, it SAP allows, SAP will not stop, but it's not a right practice to do. So business partner with category person will be for either employees or contact persons. Business partner with category organization is for vendors and customers. Business partner category with group will be for group of either persons or companies together. This is how we have to select and create the business partners first. Remember, we have to create the business partner first and then extend them to the roles vendors or customers. You cannot directly create a vendor or customer. Of course, you can, but it's not a right practice. So use the vendor or customer. If you have to create, you have to create with business partner with organization. Maybe let me pick this. So I have picked a BP group with the number, and the role is the standard role where I have to give the information that is required to me. So I'll give the name one, name two, and all, where maybe let's suppose I'll give Tata Motors India Private Limited. And if I do a check, so every time you create a data in business partner or vendor, you want to check, you can check, because if there is any error, system will show. If no error, system will say, okay, this business partner is error free. And you want to, so you see in the business partner data, only just the name of the business partner is mandatory. Nothing else is mandatory. So maybe I'll maintain some address also. Okay. House number, Tata House. Then postal code 5,0832, Hyderabad, India. And as usual, the data and all what is required, right, with the regions and all you have, that's also same, no change. So let me go and maintain Telangana, right? So you want to maintain in, let's suppose language, right? You can maintain, and communication, mobile phone and fax, email, anything you want, you can maintain. So now this business partner I'm creating, do a check. Okay, it says postal code should have the length 6. Okay, do a check. Is good. So if I save, SAP is creating a business partner, guys, not a vendor or a customer. I repeat, SAP is generating a business partner alone. So this 6011, if you take, you go to /OSC16N and you go to the table called LFA1, system will not show you any data with this because it's not a supplier. So you have to see this in BUT 000 table. BUT 000. If you give the 6011, you will see business partner general data. So with this BP category 2 per organization with BP group, the data comes, name 1 and all. Okay, any other information you give, it will come. So BUT 000 is business partner general data. BUT 020 is BP address data. So any business partner address you will give in BUT 020, it comes with an ADRC number. So this, as usual, the ADRC number 30122, you pick and go to the table called ADRC. You go to ADRC, you'll give the address. So you get the address. And you want the telephone and all, it's ADR6, I guess. ADR6 is email. Yeah, okay. We go for this. You see the email address is maintained, email@email.com. And ADR12 is the ADR2 is telephone. ADR2, if I go, you will see that 30122, the number 123456789 I maintain. Right. So this is how just the business partners are created. And this business partner, what I created, right? Let's suppose I come out of this transaction. If I go again to the BP, remember, create, change, display of BP vendor, everything is through the T code BP only. So if I have to find the BP, right? How will I do is, you will have two options. At the top left corner, you see the theme here, locator on off. So if you click locator off, then you have to give the business partner, or you have to set. If you click on locator on, so you see this options where the find the business partner with person or org any category, or business partners with different options: number, search term, external number, name, address, ID number, customer number, supplier number, and all. Okay. So here you see, you'll have an option, give the number what you have. So let's suppose I'll give 6011. If I find with start, I'll get it. Or if I don't want with number, and if I want with something like name, right? If I want to give it like Tata, so usually the Tata, if it's found anything, it will come. Let we do Tata Star. You see, it comes up with one business partner found. So like that, with whatever the details you can search with the vendors. So now this business partner I searched, I double click, it will open in a display mode. The 6011, it is opening in a display mode, which I can go to. Here you see change mode. Now this business partner, what I have, I should extend to a vendor as a vendor. But before I do that, I'll walk you through this business partner data. So this is the basic address data we have, right, in vendor. The same way here also we have for business partner. In the address overview, the overview of the address we maintained will come. Okay. And then identification, we'll talk about it later. There is a good amount of identification data we need to talk. Okay. And then control, where it talks about your BP type and then authorization group, then date of origin, and payment transactions, basically the business partner banking details. And status. Status is you have an archiving flag. If you don't want to use, you can archive the business partner. Central block is to centrally block the business partner for to not to use. Not released means this business partner is not released yet for usage. These three will work the same way. And I think where used list not required anywhere. I have not seen. And additional text, some text information SAP gives provides you to do using it. And technical identification, I haven't used any time. This is ID type. Okay, I think this is ID type. This will cover also. Okay, so these are the basic tabs in when business partner you have. Now comes this question is, this business partner with role 00000 is the business partner role he is into. If this guy is an vendor, two things you need here. Do you need the company code data of the vendor? Do you need the company code data of the vendor or the purchase org data of the vendor? What do you need? So it depends upon the process, right? We are only purchasing, we want the purchasing level data, then we'll extend to the purchasing data in the for the vendor in ECC days also. If company code payments and data required, then we do the company code level view also. So now that company code level view and purchase org level view has become two different roles. FLVN00, FLVN01. So FLVN00 is CO code level data and FLVN00 is purchase org level data for a vendor. So if the business partner should be extended to as a vendor, so which role you want to extend? So usually from an perspective, we do FLVN01 and the company code data by the finance guys. So let's see both of them now. So now in the drop down, you'll have, if you go to FFF, so you see FLCU00 is customer FI, FLCU01 is customer sales and distribution data. So if the business partner should be extended as customer, FLCU0001 roles. If it should be extended to vendor, then what? FLVN00 and FLVN01 we should pick. So let me go to FLVN00. Okay. So now you see the business partner data like the name one and the address and all should copy ideally. So ideally it will copy. I don't know why this does not happen in this system. So if you give any data in the business partner, right, along with the address and all, that would copy, the address will copy at least to the vendor. Definitely in every system I have seen. With this test system have some issue, but you please fix that okay, the address will copy from the business partner if we maintain. So let me maintain again for this. So now if you do see, you see the screen, right? You see all the tabs here and you have here something called general data, FI standard new. Why it's new? New means you are now maintaining the data. So if you do a check and you want to save, system should save no errors. So if it says search term is mandatory. So let me maintain the search term. So I do a check. Now comes the question is, this business partner is getting extended to a vendor, then what is the vendor number? Because business partner is technically a different object in SAP, vendor is a different object in SAP. So if you see here something called vendor general data team, in the vendor general data, it would show you that the vendor number is internal SAP will populate and account group is basically VCNU. This is your vendor account group. And internal, right? So if you save, what happens? SAP will generate a vendor number. So what is it SAP generated? 147. So 6011 is my business partner and 147 is my vendor. So business partner number and vendor number can be different and can be same. I repeat, business partner number and vendor number can be different and can be same as well. So how do you want? You can configure the same way, which we will be discussing in detail tomorrow. But for now, you will see the different scenario first, and tomorrow we'll see the same scenario by configuring. So now, if you do this 6011, it comes under only this BUT 000 T codes or tables only. But if you take this 147 vendor, okay, you take this 147 guy, you go to the table called LFA1, you see it will show the data because the business partner 6011 is extended to 147 vendor. Whereas if you go to LFB1 and LFM1, the data will not show. Why? Because we did not extend to any of the company codes or the purchase org. If this vendor is should be extended to company code, then what should you do? You should go to company code level. But before that, you see VCNU is this vendor account group. That is good. And all the standard fields will come. So, and yeah, I think this is the standard fields that we have in central block deletion flag we have for the vendors. That's payment block as usual we have. There is no difference. Okay. So the fields are same, guys. The way we create the vendors and customers has gone different. The fields we have is same only. All the fields we have in ECC are coming up in S4 also. So now this vendor 147, I want to get extended to the company codes. So you go to the company code tab and here you see company code and details. So now what happens is you should not give the company code here. Here you have to give, okay? Here you have to select the company code. Let's suppose 1710 is the company code I have. Here you should click for business partner is getting extended to a supplier in this company code. So supplier tick should be there and you should click on adopt. Okay. Then as usual, the reconciliation account is mandatory. So you pick a reconciliation account you do in ECC, you pick something and you have the fields like you see the release group, authorization group, minority indicator, then withholding tax, all this detail, previous account number, personal number, right? All are same. And if you go to the payment transactions, you will have the payment terms, payment methods, tolerance group, right? House bank details, payment block, all these details here as well. And withholding tax details as usual. So these are the two main tabs at least, vendor account management and vendor payment transactions we use for maintenance, right? Okay, we'll go to the purchase org level data. So then if we see the purchase org level data, the purchasing level data needs to be maintained. For example, you see in any purchase org you want. So 1710 or any other purchase org you want, you can create or you can click transfer. And here you see order currency, payment terms, Inco. So all the fields like you see Inco terms, then you have the salesperson, Tele4 account with supplier, right? ABC indicator, then GRIR verification, service-based verification, right? And all the fields will be there. There is no difference in the fields. All the fields will be the same. So we just have to give, let's suppose I'll give an USD currency and payment terms and you want to save, let's save. Okay, so this business partner with organization, we have done the setup, right, team? So we see now we'll have to create a business partner with person category. So we'll create a BP with person category. So now the slight change that comes up is you'll have not have BP role group, everything is same. So BP role is mandatory, BP group is to be given, BP number will come, but here comes the first name, last name, because we are creating a person, we are not creating a organization. So first name is something like S and last name is Uday if I keep for me, and address and all you want to give, it's mandatory, you can give, else you need not to. So do a check. If any issue system will identify, it will let you know, else it will allow you to save. I'm just creating a business partner 6510. So now if I go to this table BUT 000, okay, let me go BUT 000. So is there anything with created on? If created on is there, let me give today's date. So now you see this business partners are created. So two with different guys with someone have created, but these are the ones I created. So 16N B2000. So let me give the number as 6012 maybe, or 6059. What happened? /n BP with no number. Let me give a business partner with name, but we are giving as person. So let me give the business partner person with name. So I'll give last name as Uday. So 6510 is the guy I created. So this 6510 should be showing up in 6510 as business partner with category person. 1977 BP category as person. So usually contact persons would be created like this. I repeat, contact persons will be created like this. So how do you assign the contact person to BP? So that we'll be discussing, but maybe meanwhile what I would ask team is to do is we can take a quick maybe 7 or 8 minutes break and come back and do a trial with BP organization and person and with the tables. Then we have different other things in BP identification, relationship and all that we'll be covering in the forward batch as well maybe. So we'll have an hands-on after the break. So maybe we're already past your 22 hours. Okay, quick 9 minutes break is enough. And then probably we'll start with at 11:40 p.m. and start create BP. Okay, with category. All of you create BP with category organization. Create BP with category person. Create BP with category group. Extend. Extend BP with category 2, FLVN00 and FLVN01 roles. So very simple task for today. We create a business partner with organization, with person, with group, and whatever the account group you want to take out of the two I have taken or anything you good with. Then with the business partner with category organization, please extend it to FLVN0001 roles and don't go for company code PORG. It's blocking at this moment. Na? So you do this. And once we are done with this and you maintain, then we'll go for the different other concepts. We have at least 3-4 concepts more in this vendor master itself we have to cover.
Alright, let's test your knowledge. And here is a question for you. Which of the following best describes the guided buying capability in SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement? Option A, guided users to find the right suppliers. Option B, provided guided procedures for negotiating with suppliers. Option C, offers guided workflow for procurement processes. And option D, gives buying recommendation based on big data analysis. Take a moment to think, and when you're ready, choose the correct option. And remember, each choice holds a key to unlocking the answer. Good luck and type the correct answer in the comment section. Hello everyone, I wanted to provide a brief overview of ZaranTech's training program for SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement. In this comprehensive course, we delve into the intricacies of SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement, providing an in-depth exploration of its cutting-edge features and functionalities. Whether you're a procurement professional aiming to stay at the forefront of industry trends or an organization seeking to streamline and optimize your procurement processes, our training is tailored to meet your needs. ZaranTech's renowned instructor will guide you through the practical scenarios covering everything from strategic sources to contract management, gaining the skills and knowledge to navigate the complexities of modern procurement, ensuring you will be well prepared to drive the efficiency and make strategic decisions within your organizations. Don't miss the opportunity to elevate your expertise in SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement with ZaranTech. Visit the link to discover more about our training program and secure your place in the future of procurement excellence. Empower your procurement journey with ZaranTech today.
Now, what is the point we are going to discuss is we have seen how the business partners are created. Then now we have also seen, yesterday also we have seen how the business partner should be extended to the required roles such as vendors and customers to wherever the process is required, right? So we will also try to see how do you configure the system so that in what way you need the business and vendor setup you will have to do. Okay, so let me talk about it now. So first, we'll talk about how you configure the vendor account groups and processes in ECC first in a glance. Okay, we will not cover that for more, but we will just cover it in a glance that what happens in ECC. So in ECC days, what we used to do, we will define the account groups, right? Let's suppose if I go SPRO, reference IMG, enterprise structure, sorry, no enterprise structure, financial accounting, this financial accounting. Then here you go to accounts receivable and accounts payable. In the accounts receivable and accounts payable, you go to vendor accounts, master data. Then you'll have something like preparations for creating vendor master. So you define the account group. So you will define the account groups. Standard ones are 0001, 2, 3, 4, right? You see vendors, good suppliers, alternative payees, invoice presented by forwarding agent, ordering address, and you will have LIEF, KRED, right? LIEF and KRED also as account groups you have. And you also have something called CPD, CPDL as one-time vendors. Okay. So now you see these account groups you create. If you want to customize it, you can customize, right? You can copy and create, and you will create a number range. You want external or internal, you will create, right? Okay. And now you'll assign the number ranges to account groups. So to a vendor account group, you'll assign the number range. Okay. So now we move on to this. Same way we will do this in S4 also. We will do it in S4 also. So how is that done? Basically, so if you go to now, what should we do is we have a BP number, BP group, right? We have a vendor account vendor number, vendor account group. So since you are creating the BPs with vendor, since we are doing the BP number and you with a group you are creating, so we need to set up this, and we are extending the business partners to vendors. So you need a vendor number and vendor account group which it is created with. Same way, if you want set up with this thing, customer name for customers, customer number, customer account group is also required. So now what are we doing is, okay, we have to first set up a BP number and BP group if you want, or you will set up a vendor number and vendor account group. So first we'll do a vendor number and vendor account group. Well, let's do a custom account group, okay, in S4 HANA. So there is no change in the way you do the vendor number and account group setup from ECC to S4. I repeat, there is no change the way you will do an vendor number and vendor account group setup. Go to SPRO, reference IMG, go to financial accounting. Okay. With financial accounting, you go to accounts receivable and accounts payable, supplier accounts. It was vendor accounts in ECC. Now it's called supplier accounts. With master data, you go to preparations for creating supplier master data. Okay. So now you want to create an vendor account group. So let me pick any Z1 to start with. Okay. So let's suppose I'll go with ZUD1. Okay. ZUD1 is an account group I have. ZUD1. Oh, why is this gone? Vendor account check. Vendor account group. Okay, I'm creating a ZUD1 as my vendor account group. Okay, where this vendor account group is, and if it's a one-time account, we'll have to tick it. If not, okay. Okay, then you save. So vendor account group is saved. So this ZUD1 vendor account group, let me store ZUD1. Okay, and this ZUD1 vendor account group, what we have, we'll have to create a number range. Go to the interval and pick a number range that is required. So maybe let's see if something I'll show you, like you see 0 1 to 1 to 100, 10 number ranges there. This is an internal number range. I repeat, the use is the serial number 0 1. Instead of creating a new one, I'm picking an external existing one. Okay, instead of creating a new one, I'm picking an existing one. So if you want to create also, it's the same way. So you see 0 1 to 100, 10 is the NR status. So I'll pick this 0 1 number range and I will assign it to my account group which I created. Assign number ranges to vendor account groups. So ZUD1 I'll create. So I give my number range called 0 1. You can pick from here also. It's an internal number range. Okay, with S serial number as 0 1, 1 to 100 as the internal number range. Now this is done, right? Assign number ranges to vendor account groups is good. So this is not enough because we are not directly creating a vendor from XK01 in S4. We need a BP group and a BP number range also. We need a BP group and BP number range also. So now what will you do is close this financial accounting since the vendor account group setup is done. Now you go to cross application components. Where will you go? Cross application components. Here you will have SAP business partner. Okay, business partner, basic settings. Okay, SAP business partner, basic settings, BP row. Then you will have something called number range and grouping. Number range and grouping. So you will create your BP number range and group. So what is my BP number range and group I want? It's up to me. So let's suppose I will create a number range and then later on if I want to do a group, we'll go further group I can go. Or maybe so let's suppose you see this 0 1 range I have 1 to 100, but its NR status is 100 completely utilized, so I can't use it. So but you see this 0 2 is there, 1 lakh to 1 lakh 909, sorry, 10 lakhs to, yeah, 10 lakhs to 19 lakh 999, out of which 298 vendors are only used. So what I will do, I will pick this 0 2 for BP range. Okay, I'm not creating a new one at this moment, at least. Afterwards, after this scenario, I'll create. Okay, I have to create a BP group. I have to create a BP group, which I will call it as ZUD1. So my BP group also I'm giving the same. There is no wrong. You can give BP group. Okay, with number range 0 to I'll pick. Okay, enter. So what am I doing? I'm creating ZUD1 is BP group also with 0 to serial number with 10 to 19. Just for understanding sake, I kept like this commas guys as the number range. This is also internal. So what am I doing? My BP group is having an internal number range. My vendor account group is also having an internal number range. So the BP group and vendor account group I created same. It's not mandatory that you should create the same 4-digit code. The 4-digit code can be alphanumeric. Anything you want, you can create. So I save. Okay. So I have saved this config. So since I have the BP group and vendor account group and the number range is defined, if I want to go to create a BP and extend to the vendor, system will not allow me to do so. I repeat, system will not allow me to do so. Why? I have to link which business partner group should be created or extended as which vendor as vendor with what account group. I repeat, which business partner should be extended to the as a vendor with which account group we have to define. So before, if we don't define that and you go to BP and try to create a BP, okay, if you try to create a business partner with organization ZZZUD1, you see ZUD1, if I create, okay, I'll try to create ZUD1 BP1. So if I save, business partner will generate with 1000 series. You see 10 lakh series, 299 is the one got created. Right? All good so far? Now, if you go to the change mode and try to extend to the vendor role. So system should be extended to a vendor role. I'll give the data required. So if you go to the vendor general data, system is not populating any account group and in number range vendor. If you do a check, system gives an error. You cannot create a vendor with the BP group ZUD1. With ZUD1 BP group business partner, you cannot create a vendor. Why? Because we have not configured in the system. So if you have to configure that in the system, what will you do? You will have to go to, you can close this, okay? You can close the business partner and you see something in the bottom, master data synchronization. So we should go into it and do the config. But before I go into this master data synchronization, I'll wait here for a second. Now if you go to master data synchronization, what are we going to do? With which business partner group, BP group, what vendor account group will be allowed to create or extend as a vendor, we are giving it here. Okay. So this master data synchronization, if you go, you'll go to customer vendor integration, CVI. In this customer vendor integration, you'll go to business partner settings. In the business partner settings, you go to settings for vendor integration. In the settings for vendor integration, you go to field settings for field assignment for vendor integration. In the field assignment for vendor integration, you go to assign keys. Then you will define the define number range assignment for direction BP to vendor and define number range assignment for direction vendor to BP. So basically, if you see in the master data synchronization, you have customer vendor integration in the which you'll have BP settings, then settings for vendor integration, then you have assign keys. For assign keys, you'll have define number range assignment for direction BP to vendor or vendor to BP. So we will create usually the BP and extend to the vendors. So we will always define the number range assignment for direction BP to vendor. But for data loads, there might be like they will push from a program perspective. So in order not to go wrong, we will do the direction for vendor to BP also the same. So go to define number range for direction BP to vendor. So here you click on a new entry. You will see the option called BP grouping and vendor account group. With you want a same number or a flexible group options. So if you decide, you will give ZUD1 BP group. Okay. Here you will give ZUD1 vendor account group. Okay. And if you want a same number for BP and vendor, it will not come now. If I save, it will not come. Why? The number ranges for grouping ZUD1 and account group ZUD1 are different. So if you keep the same number range maintained for both BP group and vendor account group, then if this same number tick is done, then only the business partner will be created with the same number with vendor account group. So how is that done? I'll show you. But now you see at least the ZUD1 BP group is assigned to ZUD1 vendor account group. It will allow you to convert one BP into different, sorry, to as a vendor role. So let me go out of this screen, go to BP again. So ZUD1, we have a BP. So now let me go to the change mode and go to FLVN 010001. Any role is fine. Okay. Now you go to the vendor general data. You see ZUD1 account group is coming because ZUD1 BP group is a maintained to ZUD1 vendor account group. System is coming up. And let me maintain the system also here. And if I save, this business partner will be extended to a vendor with a different vendor number. You see, 9 is the vendor number coming up. So BP number and vendor number are different. So if BP number and vendor number should be different, then you can create your own number ranges for BP and vendor the way you want. And we'll be trying to create an second scenario, which is the most common scenario where the BP and vendor number will keep it same. So unless the client specifically says a business reason why they don't want the BP number and vendor account number same, like they ask, okay, I want a different BP number range and a vendor account number range. Till then, we don't create any different number ranges. So also we will create the BP group and vendor account group also the same same 4-digit code. The reason is, so usually you most common scenarios in business I have seen, at least to my experiences, we will create now account groups as per the partner functions. VN, OA, IP, GS, right? Is one common scenario we create where the goods suppliers into one account groups, then invoicing parties to the other account groups, and there would be other scenarios like where sometimes we do domestic and foreign vendors as different account groups, right? And we'll have a different account groups like one time also CPD, which is standard you can do. So this is the most common scenario we use. And other than this, what happens, right? So this is the most common scenario we will have with which we will work upon. And then the same ZVN or ZUDN, whatever the naming convention we want with the client we decide we'll do. So BP and vendor account group can have the same account group, but it doesn't mean that it should be same mandatorily. Okay. So same number range if we have to do, how should we do? I'll tell you a scenario. So scenario 2 we are going to talk about is how if the same scenario, same number range is required, how will you do that? So the first thing we'll go do is vendor account group. Okay, let me go to financial accounting. Okay, so financial accounting, you will see already it's open. So accounts receivable and accounts payable, master data, then vendor supplier accounts, then master data, when preparations for creating vendor master. So define account group for screen layout. So I can copy an existing one or create a new one. So I'll call this as ZV11, sorry, ZV00. My account, mine. So I'm following this range. Okay. So my user ID I was given is MM00, right? So let's suppose I'll start with 00. Whoever the user now will go on create with the unique users we have, right? 15 unique users. Like you have 1, 10, 11, 22, 15, 17, right? So you follow that range. So it will be no confusion we have. So account group ZV00 we have. So ZV00 is what? Vendor account group. Okay. So ZV00 is the vendor account group I have in this system, which I will use to create now. So now I'll save this. So after this ZV00 vendor account group setup is done, you'll create your number range. So be very careful before we create the number range. Now we want the same number as BP. So let's pick a number range and follow that sequence. 61265. So 6527, 6767 to 7000. So let me see if anything after 7000 is there, or if not, I'll use the 7000. 7000 to 7100, 72 to 7300. In test systems, of course, this is an experienced group, so please don't mind me saying, but still have responsibly maintaining the number ranges of 10, 20, 30, or max of 50 or 100, because we definitely know we are not going to create anything more than 10, 20 vendors in a batch, right? So that it helps everyone to practice well. So please do that is my ask. So you see 7500, 8000 is also the max used. So let me see if after 8,000 we have any. We have 8,100 to 9,000. You see, this guy is never gonna create 1,000 vendors. Unnecessarily, it was blocked. So that thing, let's not do that. So let me see if anything after 9,000 is used. Okay, 9,000 to 9,999 is also used. Let me see which one we can pick. 515002 to 51600. Okay, let me pick a unique series then. Instead of this, let me pick this. 35 to 4 series is also picked. 5 1 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So it's a 10-digit vendor number we can do, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 to 10 I'll use. So from there on, 10 to 20, 11 to 20, 21 to like that we can use. You see, 20. Like that we'll try to use. Okay. So what am I creating is a number range 5 1 all zeros to 5 1 10 20. So that's a bigger number range, but yes, everyone, there's a very big number range people can use, right? So please use that. So I'll create my own number range. Okay, I'll create my own number range with serial. So I'll start with Z1 series. Okay, Z1 series I'll call. Maybe if T is empty, maybe I can do a T series also. Yeah, T series with TCS. Let's start a T series. Okay, I'll do my one as T0. Okay, so just to start with, but here this time I have to give my number range as external. Remember, my vendor number range is external. I'm giving why? Because business partner is creating a vendor. Remember, technically in business partner BPT code, we are extending the BP to vendor. If we want the same number range, SAP believes the vendor is an external to the BP. So we need to create the BP with an internal or external what you want, but vendor as external number range. So now you save. So I'm creating, you see, there is no block. So I have created T0 as the number range with serial number. So now you go to assign number range to vendor account group. So you go this ZV00 and assign the T0 number range that you have created. T0. Okay, save it. So what is done so far? ZV account group, right? So ZV00 is created with this number range, this external number range with T0 as the serial number. So now you have to go to business partner. So if you have to go to business partner settings, how do? You close this financial accounting, you go to cross application components. In that you will have SAP business partner. Open the SAP business partner and business partner. Right, in the business partner you have number range and grouping. So first you have to define the number range and grouping, which should be exactly similar. Okay, remember team, we should be having the exactly similar one. So you should have the T0 series serial number. Okay, T0, it's same. Now you want external or internal for BP, it's up to you. You want SAP to generate or you will generate. So I can keep it internal and click enter. It should not be overlapped. You see, if it's overlapping with GS, what is GS? GS is saying this is the heavy one they blocked. You see, 4 all zeros to 777. Why? How can these people block this here? So let me come out of it. Let me adjust the number range and go. Okay. So GS, let me edit it.
Alright, let's test your knowledge. And here is a question for you. Which SAP S4 HANA component allows real-time visibility into spend? Option A, Supplier Lifecycle Management. Option B, Operational Contracting. Option C, Inventory Management. And option D, Embedded Analytics. Take a moment to think, and when you're ready, choose the correct option. Remember, each choice holds a key to unlocking the answer. Good luck, and type the correct answer in the comment section.
Now you go back, it's saved. So create your own, that is T0, external, internal, it's up to you. So now there is no error, you save it. Okay, this T0 number range you should assign to your BP group. So I'll create my BP group as ZB00. My BP group is ZB00. Okay, and my number range is T0, which is internal, not external. If you want external, you can keep it, it's up to us. So now you save, right? ZB00, ZB00 with T0, same. So what I'll do is ZB00 BP group with T0 as serial number. So remember, serial number and number range both should be the same for BP and vendor account group. And vendor account group should have external number range tick, whereas when BP can have internal or external number range. It's up to us. Now the BP setup is done. So you have to go to master data synchronization. If you go to master data synchronization, right? In master data synchronization, you will see customer vendor integration, setting business partner settings, settings for vendor integration, then setup, you see assign field assignment for vendor integration, assign keys, define number range assignment for direction BP to vendor. Here you should click on the new entry and you should give this ZB00, the ZB00 BP group, ZB00 vendor account group. Okay, same number tick. So if you keep same number tick and enter, system is allowing now. You see, because the vendor account group has the same number range with serial number, BP group also have the same number range with serial number, and vendor has an external tick. Now same numbers is allowed, so you can save the same numbers. This is the config we do. There is something called flexi group which I have never used, but something like for multiple account groups you want the same numbers flexibly. That's something SAP says so with that. So you see enable flexible grouping for suppliers, enable you cannot select same numbers and flexible grouping at the same time. That's for sure. You want the same number and you want a flexible is not making sense. Same numbers require the strict mapping of business partner grouping to the supplier account group, including the validation of matching number ranges. By default, the system displays the existing group mapping as changeable value. CVI accepts the incoming deviating values for both account group and supplier. That means for multiple account groups, supplier account groups for one BP, you want to have the same mapping, right? Then you can have a flexible grouping assignment. But let's not do that flexible grouping, which we never use because we'll have different account groups, BPs and vendors. We'll create in coordination like that, and we'll save. So now that's it. We have done. If we try to go to create a business partner now, so /nbp, let me go again. You want to create a person, organization, or group, anything, system will allow you. Go with the group ZB00. ZB00 is my BP group. I'll give the name one, Uday Industries. Okay, and then I will give maybe the group BBD. Okay, and if I save, my BP group will create the business partner with the 5-1 series, you see. And now if I do the change mode, I go to the vendor FLVN00, then you will have what? You will also have the details to be given. And okay, now you go to the vendor general data, same number, you see, same number it comes up, and you save. Language key has no entry, probably couple of came up, so let me delete one, and now it allows. Search term is mandatory. Let me do a search term. Now you see this vendor has been business partner and vendor has been created. You see, this is how the business partners should be extended to vendor account as vendors with this setup. Where remember, vendor account group should have the external number tick, okay, and you should also have the BP number range, either internal or external. That tick or how the setup needs to be done, it's up to you. This is what we have done. We extended to the BP to vendor, right? So BP to vendor is done, but now you want to move the same BP you want to create as a customer. So the requirements usually come up in case of distribution and retail businesses. I repeat, distribution and retail. So it's not a pure IS retail solution I'm talking about. There would be distribution companies where we implement SAP, right, to the which are not manufacturing alone. So in those businesses, you will have the BP as a vendor and customer also. Like they'll buy from the same guy and they'll sell to the same guy also. That kind of scenarios I have seen in past. So now what happens is basically you will have a vendor and customer, right? So though if in those cases, how should you do is you should create the same setup for customer also. So for suppose if I go, let me close this. Okay, let me close this cross application settings. You go to again financial accounting, but this time not to supplier accounts. You go to customer accounts. In the customer accounts, master data, preparations for creating customer master data, you should create a account group. What account group you create is up to you. So maybe I'll create ZC00, ZC00 customer account group. Okay, save. So this ZC00 customer account group, right? You should create a number range. So what I'll do is I'll give the same number range to this also. So I should not have it blocked. Let's see if it is blocked. Let's see. Okay, not there. So what I'll do is, let me see if T0 is consumed. No, not consumed. So you'll see T0, same number range, external tick because the BP is extending to the customer. So you should give this tick. Interval overlaps with GS. Very good. So let me cancel this, come out of it, go to edit, and let me change the GS setup. You see, this guy has blocked this also here. So let me change it to here. System allowed. Come back. Go again. Create a new one. T0. This number range you want external. You kept it. Saved. So the T0's serial number, what you want, you created. Go to the assign number ranges to customer account groups. So you have your account group. So to this customer account group, the number range is assigned. So it's very similar the way we have that for vendor. So what did we do is we created a customer account group, we created the number range, we assigned the number range to the customer account group. So same thing I'll talk here with external tick. Remember the external tick is required here. So this since the BP is extending to the customer role with the same number. So now this is done. Close this financial accounting. Okay. After closing this financial accounting, go to cross application components in which you have to go to SAP business partner is not required because in SAP business partner, already the BP group and number range is there, right? But to this BP group and number range, customer account group is should be added. So what should you do in that case? Close this BP group and go to master data synchronization. So in master data synchronization, you will go to customer vendor integration, then BP settings. Instead of going to settings for vendor integration, you will go to settings for customer integration. So now this customer integration, you go again, field assignment for customer integration, assign keys. Here you see the number range assignment from direction DBP to customer or customer to BP. From direction BP to customer, customer to BP. So go to this direction BP to customer and assign your account group BP group and when customer account group. So ZB00 is my BP group and ZC00 is my customer account group. And with the same numbers I want, I'll click enter. So once you click enter, system validates. If there is any error, system will show, but there is no error. That's why system is allowing us to proceed. So where you will see the BP group and the customer number, right? Both are same with customer having the external take. So same number is given with the serial number. So save. So this will be done so that the BP is linked to the vendor account group. The BP is linked to the customer account group also. I repeat, the BP group what you have is assigned to the customer account group. The BP group what you have is assigned to the vendor account group with the same number. So you see, vendor is having the same number range, customer is having the same number range, BP is having the same number range. So now what happens is the BP is extended to vendor roles FLVN00 and FLVN01. Now, if it's a customer to be the BP should be extended as a customer. If this guy is also a customer to us, then you will have to extend that guy to, let's suppose, let me do 5 1 star. Okay, I take this Uday Industries. So now I'm the change mode. You see, if the role is maintained, it shows like maintained. If it's not maintained, it would show empty like this. You see, FLVN00 is maintained, FLVN01 is empty. The same way if you go business partner general, it shows it's already there. So now you will go FFF FLCU0001. What you want, you can go. So if you want to create it as a customer, yes, you will see the same details that are required to create a customer would be asked. Okay. And if you go to the customer general data here, you will see ZC00 is the customer account group with which the customer number is created. You see? And if the sales and distribution data is required, you'll go and extend it to this customer sales area. So the same orders, shipping, billing, partner functions, all the data would be there. And if you go into this FLCU00, it would be the company code data, where in the company code data, all the customer general data will come again. You can see the details and you want to extend the company code level for customer master, you can extend with the reconciliation account, payment details and all. So this is how, okay, this is how the vendor account groups and customer account groups with external number range should be set up and linked to the BP group so that the business partner can be extended as a vendor and customer. This is the CVI integration. So everyone is a business partner and whoever is being extended to whoever is working as what role, that role will be assigned to the person. So if the business partner is there, the business partner is the guy who will be what we say. The business partner is the guy. If he's a customer, we'll extend to the FLCU 0001. If he's a vendor, we'll extend it to the FLVN 0001. These are the predominantly used roles in a vendor and customer space. But there are other roles as well, like you see, bank customer, private company account holder, prospect, commission clerks, agent, sold to party, ship to party as roles, right? Carriers, right? So different roles you have. So those all roles would be different aspects if at all to be used. So remember, we will create the account groups only for vendors, different types of vendors. There would be requirements coming in like, can I create each one vendor account group and 5 roles? Okay, there would be requirement coming like one account group I'll have for a vendor. If it's VN, I'll have one role. OA, I have one role. No, that's not a correct design. Vendor, company code, and POR level you want, you have to use this roles as SAP gives. And you want any vendor, what different account groups you want to identify in your business with, go with your account groups only. So the same way of ECC way of creating the account groups is the best way. 5 6 account groups what you might have. If there's a company code level data, extend it to FLVN00. If it's a purchase org level data, you will extend it to the FLVN01. So this is how we do. So the BP and vendor and customer are linked together.
Hello everyone. I wanted to provide a brief overview of ZaranTech's training program for SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement. In this comprehensive course, we delve into the intricacies of SAP S/4HANA Sourcing and Procurement, providing an in-depth exploration of its cutting-edge features and functionalities. Whether you're a procurement professional aiming to stay at the forefront of industry trends or an organization seeking to streamline and optimize your procurement processes, our training is tailored to meet your needs. ZaranTech's renowned instructor will guide you through the practical scenarios covering everything from strategic sources to contract management, gaining the skills and knowledge to navigate the complexities of modern procurement, ensuring you will be well prepared to drive the efficiency and make strategic decisions within your organizations. Don't miss the opportunity to elevate your expertise in SAP S/4HANA, sourcing and procurement with ZaranTech. Visit the link to discover more about our training program and secure your place in the future of procurement excellence. Empower your procurement journey with ZaranTech today.